Chapter 926. Dragon Emperor Spear Technique, Vast Ocean Dragon Waves. Lu Yuan shouted in a low voice and thrust out the Dragon Emperor drained spring spear. The endless seawater condensed out of thin air, and a blue five-clawed true dragon of several hundred feet in size emerged. The dragon roared, and the dragon's might filled the sky, bringing with it an extremely terrifying might. This was a new spear technique created by the fusion of the vast ocean with the power of the bloodline. Dragon Emperor Spear Technique, Vast Ocean Dragon Waves. The power of this move was actually not the strongest among Lu Yuan's self-created soul skills, but when the battle environment was changed to the sea, it was completely different. With the help of the seawater, the power of this move directly surpassed the meteorite silver dragon and soaring dragon, and was second only to the Dragon Emperor Spear technique created by Lu Yuan by fusing the murderous aura and the power of the bloodline. The blue five-clawed true dragon roared, bared its fangs and brandished its claws, and directly pounced on the deep-sea devil whale king. This kid has endless powerful moves. The attack power of this move is even stronger than the sea god's halberd technique. A trace of seriousness flashed across the deep-sea devil whale king's eyes. The trident in his hand directly stabbed out, and the blue seawater and purple lightning completed a perfect fusion in his hand. A deep-sea devil whale king hundreds of meters in size swished its tail, and directly met the whistling five-clawed true dragon. Bang! In an instant, energy surged, and a terrifying explosion sounded. Blue and purple energy swept out, and Lu Yuan's figure was directly shaken back thousands of meters. Similarly, the deep-sea devil whale king's figure was also shaken back thousands of meters. The seawater exploded, and the terrifying energy swept out. Xiao Lan, who had just swam up, was directly affected by this energy and was directly thrown hundreds of meters away. It spat out a large mouthful of blood and let out a miserable cry. A battle between demigods was not something that ordinary existences could intervene in. Even if it was just a little bit of the aftermath, it was not something that Xiao Lan could withstand. It was very difficult for those below the ultimate Douluo to step into the battlefield between them. Terrifying energy fluctuations spread out, setting off an even more violent tsunami. Nana, another tsunami is coming. Evil Moon's face was solemn. This tsunami was even larger than the previous one. In their current state, it would be difficult for them to withstand it. If they were not careful, the ship would be smashed to pieces by the waves. "Open the protective shield," Helena said calmly. Her pink eyes stared at the center of the battlefield, which was filled with terrifying fluctuations, with a trace of worry in her eyes. The battle was so intense that even though she trusted Lu Yuan very much, she couldn't help but feel a little worried. Understood. Hearing Helena's words, Evil Moon nodded and opened the ship's protective shield. A huge blue light shield directly enveloped the entire ship. This ship was actually a soul tool. Of course, it wasn't made by Lu Yuan. He didn't have the time to do so. Instead, he had taken it out from the Dragon King Hall's inventory. The grade of the ship wasn't low. In fact, it could withstand the wind and waves. However, the battle between Lu Yuan and the deep-sea demonic whale king was too terrifying. The power of the tsunami was too great. Therefore, they had no choice but to activate the protective shield. With the protective shield, no matter how terrifying the tsunami was, it wouldn't be a threat to the ship. I don't know how the battle is going. The dazzling energy of the explosion and the sound of the explosion, even from so far away, can still be heard clearly. Zhu Zhuqing's jade-like hands were tightly clenched into fists. There was a trace of worry in her big black and white eyes. Although she knew that Lu Yuan was very strong, facing the deep-sea demonic whale king and watching such a terrifying battle scene, she was still a little nervous. She was afraid that Lu Yuan would be injured. The battle is too intense. It's much more terrifying than the battle with the Great Consecrator. Helena's eyes didn't move as she said softly. But he won't lose, right? Zhu Zhuqing looked at Helena as if to get confirmation. Yes, he will win. Helena nodded and said, he is our man. He will win. I have never doubted that Ibuchi is the most powerful. No matter who the opponent is, he will never lose, Ning Rongrong said softly. Her big sapphire-like eyes were sparkling and full of trust. If there was someone who was Lu Yuan's #1 fan, then it would definitely be her. She firmly believed that Lu Yuan must be the most powerful. She was simple but stubborn. In this aspect, even Helena was somewhat inferior to her. Rongrong is right, he will never lose. Zhu Zhuqing seemed to have received encouragement, and her tone became unusually firm. Lu Yuan will not lose, and absolutely cannot lose. Abuchi, you must win. Listening to the words of Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong, Helena clasped her hands and murmured in a low voice. What a great deep-sea demonic whale king! Lu Yuan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with a dignified look in his eyes. He had already gone all out, but he was still tied with the deep-sea monster whale king. In the terrifying exchange just now, the deep-sea monster whale king was injured, but he was also injured. The fighting strength of the two could be said to be about the same. Brat, you're also very powerful, to actually be able to fight with me to this extent. I have to admit that you're indeed a heavenly genius. However, you can contend against me for a period of time, but you have a major shortcoming. Your cultivation is too low, and your soul power is insufficient. Let me guess, are you left with 3 or 4 layers? TSK. How much longer can you fight with me? When your soul power is exhausted, your end will come. Boy, don't struggle, obediently let me eat you. The corner of the deep-sea monster whale king's mouth rose. It was very happy. The boy in front of it was indeed a rare genius, but his soul power was insufficient. In the end, he would die in its hands. You are right. I only have 40% of my soul power left, but it is more than enough to kill you. Lu Yuan sneered. The Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear was directly transferred to his left hand. His right hand swept across the air, and an extremely terrifying murderous aura erupted from Lu Yuan's body. An illusory spear shadow appeared in Lu Yuan's hand. Along with the injection of soul power, a 3-meter-long pitch-black spear appeared in Lu Yuan's hand. A terrifying aura that seemed to be above the heaven and earth was emitted from the spear. Looking at the spear and feeling the extremely terrifying murderous aura, the deep-sea monster whale king's heart jumped. A thick sense of death arose in his heart. This spear could kill him. If he was hit by this spear, he would die, he would really die. What the hell is this thing? Looking at the god-slaying spear in Lu Yuan's hand, the deep-sea monster whale king's face was filled with fear. The baleful aura of this spear made his heart tremble. Chapter 927. What the hell is this? Lu Yuan sneered and glanced at the deep-sea demonic whale king with killing intent in his eyes. Then I'll be merciful and tell you. This is called the god-killing spear. Not to mention you, even if it's a god, it can still kill him. God-killing spear? The deep-sea demonic whale king was even more frightened. He was originally as timid as a mouse. When facing the sea god's projection, he was like a bird startled by the twang of a bow. Now that he was facing a life and death crisis, he was already panicking. Die! Lu Yuan shouted and stabbed the god-killing spear in his hand. There was no flashy spear technique. It was just a simple stab. In an instant, the wind stopped, the clouds stopped, and even the space seemed to be still. There was only a black spear suffused with bloodlight that pierced straight towards the deep-sea demonic whale king. I've been locked on by the murderous aura and can't dodge. Being locked on by the god-killing spear, the deep-sea demonic whale king suddenly felt an extreme sense of crisis. If he couldn't block this spear, he would definitely die. Sir, please spare my life. I'm willing to submit to you. Seeing the god-killing spear getting closer and closer to him, the deep-sea demonic whale king was scared. Under the urging of the death crisis in his heart, he immediately opened his mouth to beg for mercy. Submit. No need. You bastard, you have no credibility. Kill and be done with it. Lu Yuan snorted coldly. The god-killing spear didn't stop and continued to stab straight ahead. With the deep-sea demonic whale king's treacherous personality, Lu Yuan wouldn't believe half a word he said. Now, once he took back the god-killing spear, this guy would definitely run away immediately. At that time, it wouldn't be easy to find him in this vast sea. So, he might as well kill him and be done with it. Moreover, his god-killing spear was still lacking a soul ring. With the deep-sea demonic whale king's age, he was barely worthy of his god-killing spear. Since you don't want to give me a way out, then I'll fight you to the death. Seeing Lu Yuan's unyielding attitude and insisting on killing him, the deep-sea demon whale king was enraged. Since Lu Yuan didn't give him a way out, then even if he died, he would drag Lu Yuan down with him. The fish will die, but the net won't break. Those who kill will be killed. Since you want to eat me, don't blame me for being impolite. Furthermore, I gave you a chance to live, but you didn't cherish it. Now, it's my turn to take a fancy to your soul ring and soul bone. Lu Yuan sneered. The murderous aura on the god-slaying spear soared again as it pierced towards the deep-sea demon whale king's forehead. Block it. The deep-sea demonic whale king brandished its purple trident towards Lu Yuan's god-killing spear, wanting to block the god-killing spear's sharpness. The trident of the deep-sea magic whale king was not a low-grade weapon. It had been nurtured by the deep-sea magic whale king for many years, and had already entered the ranks of divine artifacts. Otherwise, after colliding with the Dragon Emperor draining spring spear so many times, it would have already been destroyed. However, even if it was a divine weapon, it was far from enough in front of the god-slaying spear. Break. Lu Yuan indifferently spat out a word. The god-slaying spear collided with the deep-sea demonic whale king's trident. In just a moment, the trident, which had already entered the ranks of divine artifacts, was shattered into pieces on the spot. The god-slaying spear did not stop. It moved forward again, and the terrifying murderous aura directly pierced towards the deep-sea demonic whale king's forehead. This time, the deep-sea demonic whale king no longer had the ability to resist. Ang! At this moment, a miserable, heartbroken, and despairing wail cry rang out, causing Lu Yuan's heart to tremble slightly. That familiar wail cry had already revealed the identity of the newcomer. Lu Yuan's heart stirred. The god-slaying spear actually deviated a bit, and streaked across the deep-sea demonic whale king's right arm. Immediately, a right arm flew out, and the purple armor on the deep-sea demonic whale king's body was completely shattered. Ah! The deep-sea demonic whale king let out a mournful howl. Although this spear had only cut off the deep-sea demonic whale king's right arm, in reality, the deep-sea demonic whale king's soul had also suffered an attack. His demigod-rank soul had suffered a heavy blow, and his spiritual force had dropped substantially. Even his spiritual sea was slightly fragmented. At the same time, the terrifying murderous aura of the god-slaying spear was still invading the deep-sea demonic whale king's body from the severed right arm. If it was not dealt with in time, the god-slaying spear's murderous aura would slowly invade the deep-sea demonic whale king's body. One day, the deep-sea demonic whale king's life would be taken away. Even if it was dealt with in time, the damage caused would be permanent. With the deep-sea demonic whale king's ability, it would be impossible for it to recover. And if its divine body and spiritual force were not perfect, it meant that the deep-sea demonic whale king would never be able to become a god. This spear had completely cut off the deep-sea demonic whale king's path to godhood. This was the terror of the heavenly law's #1 ominous weapon, the god-slaying spear. Ang! Another whale cry rang out, and a 40-meter-long deep-sea demonic whale appeared in front of Lu Yuan. It was Xiao Lan. Its body was covered with wounds, and its aura was weak. It was obvious that it had forcefully intervened in the battle between Lu Yuan and the deep-sea demonic whale king, and had suffered heavy injuries. Ang! Xiao Lan unceasingly emitted wail cries, which contained a strong pleading intent. It kept nodding its huge head, and its pair of big eyes were full of tears. It was pleading Lu Yuan to be lenient. Seeing this scene, Lu Yuan's heart trembled. Looking at the pleading Xiao Lan, his heart couldn't help but soften. But when his gaze swept over the deep-sea demonic whale king, who was hugging his arm and howling, the killing intent in his eyes skyrocketed. Letting the deep-sea demonic whale king go like this? That was absolutely impossible. Everyone had to pay for their own actions, and the deep-sea demonic whale king was no exception. Die! Lu Yuan coldly said. He lifted the god-killing spear and was about to stab the deep-sea demonic whale king. Seeing this scene, Xiao Lan issued a mournful wail, and tears of blood flowed out from its eyes. Clang! The god-killing spear stopped between the deep-sea demonic whale king's eyebrows. Looking at the pained and helpless Xiao Lan, he couldn't stab the spear any further. His heart softened. Consider yourself lucky to have such a kind daughter. Today, I won't kill you. Lu Yuan's eyes flickered, and he withdrew the god-killing spear in his hand. Really? Hearing this, the deep-sea demonic whale king was overjoyed. It had thought that it would die without a doubt, but it didn't expect that Lu Yuan would give Xiaolan face and not kill it. Really? Lu Yuan softly said. However, just as the deep-sea demonic whale king revealed a smile, Lu Yuan's tone changed, and he said, although you can avoid death, you can't escape punishment. Then what does Sir want? The deep-sea demonic whale king's body trembled, and it tentatively asked. I want you to sacrifice yourself, Lu Yuan lightly said. Sacrifice yourself? Hearing this, the deep-sea demonic whale king's complexion changed. What was the difference between this and death? Don't worry, I won't let you die completely. After the sacrifice, when the target becomes a god, you will be resurrected. Lu Yuan's indifferent voice sounded. Chapter 928. Oh! Hearing Lu Yuan's words, the deep-sea demonic whale king's complexion improved a lot. But even so, he still didn't want to sacrifice. Wasn't it better to live? You have no choice. Either sacrifice or die. Looking at the deep-sea demonic whale king's expression, Lu Yuan knew what he was thinking. He pointed the god-killing spear at the deep-sea demonic whale king's head and coldly said, Then let's sacrifice it. Looking at the cold face of Lu Yuan, the deep-sea demonic whale king decisively admitted defeat. If he sacrificed, he would have a chance to be resurrected. But if he died, there would be nothing left. He wasn't stupid. He knew how to make such a choice. At least you know what's good for you, Lu Yuan indifferently said. The killing intent in his eyes gradually subsided. His eyes slightly turned and glanced at Xiao Lan. His eyes flashed with a touch of gentleness. If it weren't for Xiao Lan, you would have died today. Not to mention, you wouldn't have a chance to sacrifice. Moreover, sacrificing is not a bad thing for you. Lu Yuan withdrew his gaze and looked at the deep-sea demonic whale king, indifferently said. Not a bad thing? The deep-sea demonic whale king's mouth slightly twitched. Could it be a good thing? Your current cultivation is infinitely close to 1,000,000 years, right? Looking at the deep-sea demonic whale king, Lu Yuan softly asked. Yes. The deep-sea demonic whale king nodded. In fact, he could have broken through 1,000,000 years long ago. It was just that he didn't have full confidence to pass the last 1,000,000 years lightning tribulation. Therefore, he had been forcibly suppressing his cultivation. To tell you the truth, even if you break through 1,000,000 years, you won't be able to become a god. The last 1,000,000 years lightning tribulation will completely submerge you and destroy you. And even if you are lucky enough to become a god, the divine realm will send a law enforcement team to eliminate you. Soul beasts can't become gods. This is the iron law of the divine realm. Lu Yuan gently said. My lord, are you serious? Hearing Lu Yuan's words, the deep-sea demonic whale king's heart trembled, and his complexion slightly changed. If Lu Yuan had said these words for the first time, the deep-sea demonic whale king thought that Lu Yuan was lying to him. But now, there was no need to lie to him because his life was in Lu Yuan's hands. As for saying that Lu Yuan was trying to cheat him of his soul ring and soul bone, that was also impossible. As long as Lu Yuan stabbed him with his spear, his life would be gone, and the soul ring and soul bone would be easily obtained. Of course. I won't hide it from you. The current ruler of the soul beasts, the Silver Dragon King, is my confidant. You've lived for so long, you should know about the ruler of the soul beasts, right? Lu Yuan asked. Got it. The deep-sea demon whale king nodded. He naturally knew about the sovereign of soul beasts. No matter what, he was one of the longest living soul beasts on the continent. Could it be that the soul beast sovereign told you about this? Asked the deep-sea devil whale king. Of course. She's a god, so her words can't be false. Also, do you know about the Great War in the divine realm? Lu Yuan asked. I'm not very clear about it, said the deep-sea demon whale king. Well, then I'll briefly tell you about it. Lu Yuan calmly told him about the Great War in the Divine Realm. After the defeat of the divine beasts, the 5 divine kings of the Divine Realm jointly set an iron law. In order to prevent the same thing from happening again, all soul beasts are not allowed to become gods. At most, they can only reach the false god realm. They will never be able to break through to the true god realm. And even if soul beasts have great fortune and cultivate to the divine realm, they will be regarded as heresy by the divine realm and exterminated. So when I say that you will never be able to cultivate to the divine realm in this lifetime, do you believe me? Looking at the deep-sea demon whale king, Lu Yuan asked indifferently. I believe you. The deep-sea demon whale king's expression was complicated. There was disappointment and a touch of despair. Anyone who knew that the path to becoming a god was cut off would feel the same as him. He didn't want to believe it, but Lu Yuan's words were reasonable, so he had no choice but to believe it. Also, when I said that sacrifice is a good thing for you, I wasn't lying. Now that you are seriously injured and pierced by the god-slaying spear, your god base has been destroyed, and you can no longer suppress your cultivation. In less than 100 years, your million-year tribulation will come. This tribulation is difficult to begin with, and it is impossible for you to pass it. You will definitely die. But sacrifice is different. Your soul can hide in a soul ring. When the time comes, as long as the target of your sacrifice becomes a god, they can revive you. At that time, you can achieve a different kind of eternal life. Isn't that better? Lu Yuan said softly. Hearing this, the deep-sea demon whale king's eyes lit up. One was facing death in 100 years, and the other was achieving a different kind of eternal life. As long as one wasn't stupid, they would know which choice to choose. Of course, he wasn't stupid. In fact, he was very treacherous. Sir, is it a sacrifice to you? If you want, I can make a sacrifice for you right now. Since he wanted to make a sacrifice, he had to find someone who could become a god. This way, he would have a chance to be revived in the future. In the deep-sea demon whale king's eyes, no one had a better chance of becoming a god than Lu Yuan. He was even sure that Lu Yuan could become a god. After all, a rank 79 person who could defeat him, a demigod, was unprecedented. It's not a sacrifice for me, but for someone else. But don't worry, she is also someone who will become a god. Lu Yuan shook his head and said. Originally, he was going to kill the deep-sea demon whale king and use him as the first soul ring of the god-slaying spear. But now, the situation had changed. He didn't need to kill the deep-sea demon whale king. Since the deep-sea demon whale king had become a sacrifice, Lu Yuan's thoughts had changed. The deep-sea demon whale king's soul ring was very good, but for the current Lu Yuan, it wasn't indispensable. This was because he still had the remnant soul and divine core of the fire and water dragon king in his mind. This was a first-class deity soul ring, far from what the deep-sea demon whale king could compare to. But if the soul ring was given to Bibidon, it would be very useful. Moreover, Bibidon just happened to lack the last soul ring to cultivate his twin martial souls to perfection. Dong-er, oh Dong-er, I will bring the deep-sea demon whale king's soul ring back to you. When the time comes, how will you thank me? Thinking of the future scene, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. He was looking forward to Bibidon's pleasantly surprised look after he knew about this. Apart from Sir, is there such an existence? Listening to Lu Yuan's words, the deep-sea demon whale king was surprised. Apart from Lu Yuan, there was someone who could become a god. Were all humans so talented now? She is my woman, what do you think? Lu Yuan asked indifferently. Yes, Sir's woman is naturally extraordinary. The deep-sea demon whale king understood. No wonder Lu Yuan was willing to give away a soul ring of this level. It turned out that the person was his woman. This made sense. Moreover, since she could be Lu Yuan's woman, her talent and cultivation must be extraordinary. Thinking that Lu Yuan said that the Silver Dragon King was also his confidant, the deep-sea demon whale king couldn't help but exclaim. The guy in front of it was a real big shot. Chapter 929. In the vast and boundless sea, there were 2 deep-sea demon whales swimming. One of them was only 40 meters long, while the other was huge, at least 800 to 900 meters long. Floating on the water, one couldn't see the end of it. Lu Yuan sat on the deep-sea demon whale king's back, slowly recovering his soul power. In the battle with the deep-sea demon whale king, he had consumed a lot of soul power, especially after using the god-slaying spear. He only had less than 20% of his soul power left. Thus, he took advantage of this opportunity to recover. The god-slaying murderous aura in the deep-sea demon whale king's body had been dealt with by Lu Yuan. However, one of its arms, which was a whale fin, couldn't be recovered. The damage caused by the god-slaying spear couldn't be recovered even with the clear chi god power. Regarding this point, even Lu Yuan couldn't do anything about it. The god-slaying spear was too overbearing. Everything that it touched would be completely destroyed by the terrifying murderous aura. Thus, Lu Yuan rarely used the god-slaying spear. Aside from the huge consumption, this was also one of the reasons. Unless it was a life-and-death enemy, or he was at the end of his rope, Lu Yuan wouldn't use the god-slaying spear. After circulating it slightly, Lu Yuan opened his eyes. At this moment, the soul power in his body had recovered to about 70%, which was enough. The rest would be automatically circulated by the clear chi scripture, so he didn't need to meditate anymore. Standing up, Lu Yuan's figure moved, and he arrived on Xiaolan's back. His right hand moved slightly, and rich clear chi god power flowed into its body, helping it recover from its injuries. This deep-sea demon whale was pure and kind, and also a little silly and cute. Lu Yuan actually liked it a lot. This time, he spared the deep-sea demon whale king mainly because of it. He had already told it about the deep-sea magic whale king's sacrifice. Although it was reluctant, it still agreed. At least this way, the deep-sea magic whale king wouldn't die and would have the chance to live forever. This was already very good. As for the deep-sea demonic whale king, although the matter of the sacrifice had been finalized, this guy was treacherous, cunning, and untrustworthy. However, its strength was also very strong. In order to better control it, Lu Yuan directly used the clear chi divine power to set up a restriction in its soul. As long as it dared to have any bad intentions, Lu Yuan could immediately shatter its soul and take its little life. As for whether or not the deep-sea demon whale king could get rid of the restriction, Lu Yuan wasn't worried at all. Even a god couldn't get rid of the restriction set up by the clear chi god power. Just like the sea god's heart, after that thing was refined by the clear chi divine power, the sea god could no longer control it. The clear chi divine power contained the power of the natural order. Its power was extremely terrifying. Other than the god-slaying spear that surpassed the natural order and the polychoria that had unlimited potential, there was really nothing that it could not handle. After a few minutes, Lu Yuan withdrew his right hand. At this moment, the injuries on Xiaolan's body had been completely healed. He sat down and gently patted Xiaolan's head. This little guy was really anxious this time. It risked its life to barge into the battle between him and the deep-sea demon whale king, and even got seriously injured. But then again, if it hadn't arrived in time, the deep-sea demon whale king would have died in his hands. After being patted on the head by Lu Yuan, Xiaolan let out a cheerful whine. After the matter was settled, it was in a good mood. Furthermore, Lu Yuan had spared the deep-sea demon whale king's life because of it. It was actually very grateful to Lu Yuan in its heart. Hearing Xiaolan's whine, Lu Yuan faintly smiled. This little guy was really lovable. It's a pity. The deep-sea demon whale king isn't a three-eyed golden lion after all. Xiaolan also can't transform at will like Qiu. In less than 100,000 years, it can only stay in the sea. It's a pity. This little guy is very cute. It would be great if I could bring it with me. Lu Yuan sighed softly. However, Lu Yuan's mind suddenly lit up as he thought of something. I remember that there's a type of form transformation pill in the complete alchemy solution. It seems to be able to help demonic beasts transform. Furthermore, after transforming, the demonic beast will have the cultivation speed of a human. Isn't this pill suitable for Xiaolan? Although it hasn't reached 100,000 years, Xiaolan can still transform with the form transformation pill. Not only can it change between its original form and human form at will, but it also doesn't have to waste its cultivation and recultivate. It can directly convert its cultivation into soul power of the corresponding rank. This is very wonderful. Furthermore, it's not just Xiaolan. This pill is useful for all soul beasts. It can greatly increase a soul beast's strength. Speaking of which, why didn't I think of using such a powerful pill in the past? Should I go back and refine more form transformation pills to increase a soul beast's strength? No, that won't do. Once a soul beast has the cultivation speed of a human, coupled with the incomparably long lifespan of a soul beast, it won't take long. At most a few hundred years, the strength of soul beasts and humans will be completely imbalanced. At that time, the continent may be controlled by soul beasts and humans will be completely enslaved. This is very likely to happen. We still have to be cautious about this matter. After thinking about it, Lu Yuan rejected the idea of refining a large number of form transformation pills for soul beasts. He wanted humans and soul beasts to coexist peacefully, and not for soul beasts to dominate. That was close. If I really did what I did just now, I'm afraid I'll become a sinner of humanity. It's better to just refine one pill for Xiaolan. As for the other soul beasts, forget about it for the time being. This form transformation pill absolutely cannot appear in large quantities. But fortunately, only I know how to refine this thing. Lu Yuan muttered. After a moment of silence, Lu Yuan raised his head. His double pupils slightly constricted. A ship a few miles away entered his eyes. It was their ship. Xiaolan, speed up. With a trace of a smile at the corner of his mouth, Lu Yuan patted Xiaolan's head. Xiaolan let out a whale-like cry and flicked its tail. After recovering from its injuries, it quickly increased its speed. 2 whales and 1 person quickly moved towards the ship. In the blink of an eye, another week had passed since the battle between Lu Yuan and the deep-sea demon whale king. Lu Yuan and the other's ship sailed on the sea. 2 deep-sea demon whales, 1 big and 1 small, followed on both sides of the ship. Since he had already subdued the deep-sea demon whale king, Lu Yuan naturally brought it along with him. He didn't want to let this fellow escape and cause trouble for no reason. Although there was a restriction in place and he wasn't worried about it escaping, in this vast sea, even with the restriction, it would take a lot of time to find it again. Lu Yuan was a person who didn't like to waste time, so it was better to simply bring it along with him. When the matter on the sea god's island was more or less settled, he would directly bring it back to the martial soul palace and sacrifice it to be bid on. It was convenient and fast. As for Xiaolan, he already had the deep-sea demon whale king by his side, so it wouldn't make a difference. As for the conflict with the great white demon shark, it would be settled when the time came. He believed that this matter shouldn't be too difficult. Chapter 930. Abuchi. A pleasant voice rang in Lu Yuan's ears. Helena's beautiful figure appeared beside Lu Yuan. Nana, you're here. Seeing Helena, Lu Yuan's eyes lit up. He pulled Helena's hand and let her sit on his body. We should be able to reach the sea god's island today, Lu Yuan said softly as he hugged Helena's delicate body. Is that so? Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Helena's pink eyes flashed. She really couldn't stand this boring voyage anymore. Her active temperament hasn't changed since she was young. If it wasn't for Lu Yuan accompanying her, she was afraid that she would have really gotten into trouble. Ian, that's what the deep-sea demonic whale king said. Moreover, looking at the sea chart, we should be reaching the sea god's island soon. Lu Yuan said softly as he kissed Helena's red lips. The deep-sea demonic whale king. Speaking of it now, I still feel like I'm dreaming. Abuchi, you're so amazing. You actually managed to tame a demigod-level super vicious beast. Helena looked at Lu Yuan, her big eyes sparkling. Lu Yuan's ability really exceeded their imagination again and again. Amazing, right? It's your fortune to have a fiancé like me, Lu Yuan said with a smile as he pinched Helena's jade nose. It's obviously your fortune to have a fiancé like us. You're saying the opposite. You should know that we're very popular. Helena raised her head and said with a face full of pride. Thinking back to those days, she had a lot of admirers in the martial Soul Palace. Is that so? Don't tell me that I'm not welcome. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and asked rhetorically. Hearing this, Helena was stunned. It seemed that there were quite a lot of people who liked this guy, and they were all beauties. Other things aside, there were still Du Guyang and Yi Lingling coveting him on this ship. If it weren't for her, Zhu Zhuqing, and the other two keeping a close watch, who knows what would have happened. Even if Lu Yuan could control her, the two women might not be able to control themselves. Thinking of this, Helena couldn't help but pout. It wasn't a good thing for her fiancé to be too outstanding. There were always women eyeing him. Bag. Lu Yuan gave Helena another kiss. Looking at Helena's pouting mouth, she couldn't help it. She was really too cute. Don't worry, don't think too much. Don't forget what I said. I won't fool around anymore. Gently rubbing Helena's forehead, Lu Yuan said softly. Helena nodded lightly. With a smile on her lips, she leaned into Lu Yuan's embrace. Wow, Sister Nana, you're secretly monopolizing Abuchi again. A delicate voice sounded, followed by a fragrant wind. A soft and delicate body crashed into Lu Yuan's embrace. Lu Yuan stretched out his right hand and hugged her. Why aren't you sleeping anymore? You lazy worm. Looking at Ning Rongrong in front of him, Lu Yuan said gently. I missed you. Ning Rongrong said coquettishly. Her small face moved closer to Lu Yuan's and her red lips parted slightly. Her breath smelled like orchids. Her ice blue eyes sparkled as she looked at Lu Yuan eagerly. Seeing her like this, how could Lu Yuan not know what she was thinking? He immediately rewarded her with a kiss. Ning Rongrong immediately beamed with joy. Looking at Ning Rongrong, Lu Yuan asked gently, Little girl, where's Zhuqing? She's at the back. She just broke through level 64. Ning Rongrong whispered with an envious expression. She was only at rank 56. Not bad. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing who had walked up to him, Lu Yuan said with a chuckle. Not as good as you guys. Zhu Zhuqing shook her head. She was the weakest among Lu Yuan's women. As for Ning Rongrong, she wasn't considered a support type. Not as good as me. Helena shook her head. She was 5 years older than Zhu Zhuqing and was only at rank 69. Her talent wasn't that high. No, you're better. Your physique is not weak. The yearning heartbroken grass and the crystal blood dragon ginseng complement each other and have laid the foundation for you to become a god. Also, you have the Slayer domain. You're very talented now. Soul power isn't the only indicator that distinguishes geniuses. You have to look at them together. Lu Yuan said in a gentle voice. Stop arguing, I'm the weakest. Ning Rongrong said in a gentle voice. Lu Yuan's women were all too outstanding, and she was under a lot of pressure. It's my fault. Lu Yuan patted Ning Rongrong's head gently and said in a gentle voice, I'll give you everything you deserve. I won't let you fall too far behind. To date, the most precious thing he had given Ning Rongrong was the beautiful silk tulip, which was far less valuable than what Helena and Zhu Zhuqing had received. Not only did they each receive a life spirit crystal, they also received 100,000-year-old soul bones. Zhu Zhuqing had the blue-silver emperor's right leg bone and the blood-winged golden mosquito's left arm bone, 200,000-year soul bones. Helena had the radiant unicorn's left arm bone and the 1,000-cat emperor's torso bone, which was not inferior to a 100,000-year soul bone. On the other hand, Ning Rongrong only had an ordinary 10,000-year skull bone and a 40,000-year torso bone. Even though Ning Rongrong had become his girlfriend later on, there was still a huge gap between them. There's no need for that. I don't care about that as long as you love me. Ning Rongrong shook her head with a serious expression. Silly girl. Lu Yuan looked at her with a doting expression and held her tightly in his arms, but he was determined to find an opportunity to strengthen Ning Rongrong. Master, we've arrived at the Sea God's Island. Deep-sea demonic whale monarch's voice sounded in Lu Yuan's mind. Both of them possessed extreme spiritual power, so they could communicate directly with one another. Lu Yuan released the two women and rose to his feet upon hearing the deep-sea demonic whale monarch's words. Sure enough, an island could already be seen in the distance. With his astonishing eyesight, Lu Yuan could even see the people walking around on the island. At the sight of Lu Yuan suddenly rising to his feet, Helena and the others all turned to him with perplexed looks on their faces. "What's wrong, Abuchi? We've arrived at the sea god's island." Lu Yuan smiled faintly and pointed at the island not far away. At this moment, they were still 8 to 9 miles away from the sea god's island, but even Helena and the others could see the outline of the island clearly. "Yay, we've finally arrived." Helena exhaled with a smile on her face. "We've arrived. That's great, I'm about to throw up from sitting on this ship." Ning Rongrong smiled faintly. She was also an impatient person. After drifting on the sea for more than half a month, she was bored to death. "Then let's speed up, I also want to see what the sea god's island looks like." Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said softly. He was also very curious about this famous sea god's island. Under Lu Yuan's command, the ship sped up again and quickly sailed towards the sea god's island. Chapter 931. Speeding up, the ship shot towards the sea god's island like an arrow leaving the bow. In less than a quarter of an hour, the entire sea god's island appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Sea god's island was huge, really huge. When they got close to it, they realized that it was at least the size of a small county. However, when they thought about it, it made sense. There were people living on Sea God's Island, and there were at least a few 100,000 people living there. The scenery on the Sea God's Island was also very beautiful, and the vegetation was also very lush. Lu Yuan and the others could clearly see these things. "My lord, the Sea God's Island is guarded by the Great White Demon Shark clan. If you want to enter the island, you have to pass through their defense." The Deep-Sea Devil Whale King's voice sounded in Lu Yuan's mind. The Deep-Sea Devil Whale King was naturally very familiar with the Sea God's Island. It had been here more than once. "I understand," Lu Yuan replied softly. For others, it might be a little difficult to pass through the defense of the Great White Demon Shark clan, but for him, it couldn't be more simple. "My lord, I have some conflicts with the Great White Demon Shark clan. I'm afraid that we will cause a conflict if we go like this," the Deep-Sea Devil Whale King said again. It had once invaded the Sea God's Island, but it was repelled by Pasisi, who borrowed divine power. Speaking of which, the people on the Sea God's Island were very resistant to it. "Don't worry, I will handle it," Lu Yuan said indifferently. "Yes, my lord." The Deep-Sea Devil Whale King's voice slowly disappeared. Since Lu Yuan said so, it didn't have to worry. Moreover, taking a step back, Pasisi could repel it, but he definitely couldn't repel it and Lu Yuan. Even if this was Pasisi's home ground, and he could borrow the power of the sea god without any scruples, it would still be the same. Pasisi's strength was only that of a limit Douluo. For the current Lu Yuan and the Deep-Sea Devil Whale King, they could easily defeat him. Their true fighting strength was at the demigod level. Even if Pasisi borrowed the power of the sea god, he could only reach the demigod realm. Pasisi was no match for the two of them, not to mention that Lu Yuan still had the god-killing spear. Even now, when the Deep-Sea Demon Whale King thought about it, its mind trembled. No one below the deity level would be able to block this thing. The Deep-Sea Demon Whale King didn't speak, it was silent as it stood beside Lu Yuan's ship. Naturally, compared to its huge body, Lu Yuan's ship was just a small dot, the difference was too great. "Zhu Qing, come here." Lu Yuan waved at Zhu Qing, who was not far away. "What's wrong?" Seeing Lu Yuan wave at her, Zhu Qing walked to his side in confusion. "I want to give this to you." Lu Yuan smiled as the Neptune's heart appeared in his hand. With a gentle wave of his hand, a few drops of blood floated out from the Neptune's heart. These were the drops of blood that he had absorbed when he refined the Neptune's heart. Of course, only he could force it out. This Neptune's heart could only be used by others if he was willing to give it to them. Otherwise, even if they obtained it, it would just be an ordinary triangular cover. "Neptune's heart?" Zhu Qing said in surprise. Only when it recognizes you as its master will the Neptune's inheritance be yours. The Neptune's heart is the most important token of the Neptune's inheritance, Lu Yuan lightly said. Then what should I do? Zhu Zhuqing asked. Just drip a drop of blood on it, Lu Yuan gently said. Oh, Zhu Zhuqing softly said. Her thumbnail lightly scratched her forefinger, and a few drops of blood fell on the Neptune's heart, sinking into it. Suddenly, the Neptune's heart emitted a gorgeous blue light, and directly flew into Zhu Zhuqing's knowledge sea. Then, the power of the vast sea that belonged to the Neptune's heart quickly gushed out, nourishing Zhu Zhuqing's body and transforming her physique. Okay, done. Seeing that Zhu Zhuqing had successfully recognized him as its master, Lu Yuan faintly smiled. With the Neptune's heart, Zhu Zhuqing's inheritance was in the bag. Zhu Zhuqing closed her eyes and digested the information transmitted to her by the Neptune's heart. Lu Yuan didn't disturb her, and quietly stood to the side, guarding her. On one side, Lu Yuan was looking at Zhu Zhuqing, and on the other side, the patrol team of the Sea God's Island also discovered Lu Yuan and the others. Of course, the most eye-catching one was the deep-sea demonic whale king. Its huge body was 800 to 900 meters long, and it was very difficult for others to not see it. Moreover, at the same time when the patrol team discovered them, the great white demon soul sharks in charge of guarding the Sea God's Island also discovered them. When they saw the deep-sea demonic whale king, all the great white demon soul sharks became alert. They constantly roared, thinking that the deep-sea demonic whale king had come to invade the Sea God's Island again. Quickly go and report to the masters, there are enemies invading the Sea God's Island. A purple-robed middle-aged man shouted, and a group of yellow-robed sea soul masters behind him quickly left to report to the guardians of the 7 Saint Pillars. Although they hadn't fought yet, the deep-sea demonic whale king's huge body had already frightened them. Not everyone on the Sea God's Island recognized the deep-sea demonic whale king. In fact, only a small number of people could recognize it. However, as a third-grade sea soul master, he still had basic eyesight. Such a huge soul beast wasn't something they could deal with. The seahorse Saint Pillar was the closest to the Sea God's Island, so he was the first to receive the news. There are enemies invading the Sea God's Island, the seahorse Douluo asked. What kind of enemies? A ship and a huge soul beast. It's 800 to 900 meters long, and it seems to be a whale, the yellow-robed soul master said. A whale that's 800 to 900 meters long? The deep-sea demonic whale king? The seahorse Douluo was shocked. The deep-sea demonic whale king was an extremely terrifying soul beast. Even with the help of the Saint Pillar, he wasn't a match for it. On the entire Sea God's Island, only Pasisi could fight the deep-sea demonic whale king. No, I have to report this to the High Priestess, the seahorse Douluo said. No need, I already know. Pasisi appeared in front of the seahorse Douluo in a flash of light. Greetings, High Priestess, the seahorse Douluo bowed. You stay here and guard the island. I'll go take a look, Pasisi said. Yes, High Priestess. The seahorse Douluo relaxed when he heard that Pasisi was going to take action personally. In their hearts, Pasisi was invincible. Even the deep-sea demonic whale king wasn't a match for Pasisi. Yes. Pasisi nodded slightly. Her beautiful face was calm, but there was a trace of doubt in her eyes. Why is this kid with the deep-sea demonic whale king? She had already sensed Lu Yuan and the others when they approached the Sea God's Island. She naturally knew why Lu Yuan and the others were here, but they were accompanied by the deep-sea demonic whale king. This confused Pasisi. Chapter 932. Logically speaking, with the nature of the demonic whale king, it would definitely eat Lu Yuan's group in one bite. Even if Lu Yuan's group had extraordinary strength, the most they could do was escape from the demonic whale king's hands. How could they coexist peacefully with the demonic whale king? Could it be that they have agreed to invade my Sea God's Island? Pasisi thought inwardly, but she immediately dismissed the idea. Lu Yuan's group is here to obtain the Sea God's inheritance. They can't possibly be here to invade the Sea God's Island. But what's going on? After thinking for a long time, Pasisi still couldn't figure it out. Forget it, I'll know when I see it for myself. Pasisi sighed softly and disappeared in a flash. Abuchi, what should we do? The group of great white demonic soul sharks are blocking our way. Looking at the densely packed group of great white demonic soul sharks in front of them, Hulena anxiously asked. What are you panicking for? I'm here, it's just a small matter, Lu Yuan said with a gentle smile. I'm not worried about that. They are the soul beasts responsible for guarding the sea god's island. I'm afraid that if you injure them, the sea god will be unhappy. If that happens, Zhu Qing won't be able to obtain the sea god's inheritance. Hulena said. Who said I'm going to injure them? Lu Yuan asked with a faint smile. Then how are you going to disperse them without injuring them? Hulena asked doubtfully. I have my own way. Lu Yuan smiled and looked at Zhu Qing, who still had her eyes closed. Let's wait for a while. When Zhu Qing wakes up, I'll make my move. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll startle her. No need, I'm already awake. As soon as Lu Yuan's voice fell, Zhu Qing's cold voice rang out. Her clear black and white eyes stared unblinkingly at Lu Yuan. Do you understand the various functions of the sea god's heart? Lu Yuan asked softly as he looked at Zhu Qing. Well, I understand. Thank you, Abuchi. Zhu Qing took 2 steps forward, threw herself into Lu Yuan's arms, and said softly. Only after refining the sea god's heart did she realize how precious this treasure was. She was even more moved. Lu Yuan was really good to her. Why are you thanking me? Do you want to get spanked again? Lu Yuan asked with a faint smile. Hearing this, Zhu Qing blushed and glared at Lu Yuan. Seeing this, Lu Yuan smiled and kissed Zhu Qing's lips. Then, he said to Hulena and the others, you guys stay on the boat and deal with these great white demon soul sharks. Yes. Hulena and the others nodded. They looked at Lu Yuan curiously. They wanted to see how Lu Yuan would deal with these great white demon soul sharks. Lu Yuan smiled again. Then, his body moved, and he rose into the air. He stood in the air and looked at the group of great white demon soul sharks guarding the sea god's island. The great white demon soul sharks were indeed worthy of being the sea god's mounts. They were very beautiful. Their bodies were pure white, and their skin glowed with a silver light. Furthermore, their bodies were very smooth and streamlined. They were even more beautiful than Xiao Lan. In front of the group of great white demon soul sharks, there were 3 largest sharks. 2 of them were around 80,000 years old. The leading one had a much stronger aura. It wasn't inferior to a rank 95 titled Douluo. It should be the king of great white demon soul sharks, Xiao Bai, who had reached 100,000 years of cultivation. At this moment, it was looking at Lu Yuan with caution. The existence of the deep-sea devil whale king gave it an unparalleled pressure. Great white demon soul sharks. Forget it. I've never used this secret technique since I obtained it. Today, I'll use you guys to test it out. Lu Yuan chanted softly, and the 5-clawed golden dragon king martial soul immediately appeared in his body. His 7th golden soul ring blossomed with dazzling golden light, and an extremely frightening dragon's might instantly pervaded the air. Lu Yuan's figure flashed, and a 5-clawed golden dragon with a pair of wings on its back appeared in the air, circling in the air. 7th soul skill, 5-clawed golden dragon king true body. Lu Yuan's 5-clawed golden dragon king true body was 100 meters long. It shone with golden light and exuded a sacred and noble aura. Roar! Suddenly, the 5-clawed golden dragon king opened its huge dragon mouth, and a dragon's roar containing an extremely terrifying aura came out. This dragon's roar was different from the ones Lu Yuan had released in the past. Not only was the pressure 10 times or even dozens of times stronger, but it also had a supreme aura that was above all beasts. Under this dragon's roar, all the great white demon sharks trembled at the same time. Their eyes were filled with deep fear. Almost in an instant, they completely surrendered and involuntarily prostrated themselves in front of Lu Yuan. Even the deep-sea devil whale king, a demigod-level super-fierce beast, was somewhat frightened. Even it was somewhat unable to bear this supreme aura. It was too terrifying. This kind of aura directly penetrated its bloodline, making it instinctively want to submit. Too terrifying. I didn't expect Sir to have such a powerful method. The deep-sea devil whale king tried its best to resist the feeling of submission in its heart, and secretly exclaimed in its heart. Dragon's roar technique. This was the technique Lu Yuan was currently using. It was one of the moves of the true dragon treasured technique that Lu Yuan had obtained. Among the 3 moves of the true dragon treasured technique, the imperial dragon technique could transform true qi into a true dragon to defend against the enemy. At the same time, it could also control all dragons in the world. It had an extremely terrifying control over the dragon race. The true dragon claws attack was unparalleled. It could break through anything, and it could easily fight people above its level. Until now, Lu Yuan had never used it. All that was left was the dragon roar technique. Once the dragon roar technique was unleashed, all beasts would submit to it. Lu Yuan, in his 5-clawed golden dragon king true form, was enough to make the entire demonic soul great white sharks submit to him. Let's go. Lu Yuan's 5-clawed golden dragon king roared and directly opened the path in front. Wherever it passed, all the great white demon sharks would bow and submit, and make way for it. Very smoothly, the ship approached the sea god's island. Everyone also landed on the mainland. The 5-clawed golden dragon king once again let out a resounding roar, and then flew down to the ground. With a flash of golden light, it transformed back into Lu Yuan's figure. Lu Yuan stood on the island with Hulena and the rest behind him. In front of them was a group of Sea God's Island patrols wearing purple and yellow clothes. However, right now, they were looking at Lu Yuan with fear in their eyes. Their legs were trembling slightly. When Lu Yuan transformed into the 5-clawed golden dragon king, the pressure that he released was simply too terrifying. However, they still didn't retreat. Even though they were afraid, they still stuck to their duty and didn't give way. Lu Yuan couldn't help but have a higher opinion of them. You're here. At this moment, a beautiful figure appeared in front of Lu Yuan. She had long blue hair, wore a gorgeous robe, and held a scepter inlaid with sapphires in her hand. She had a graceful temperament. She was the high priestess of the sea god's island, the sea god Douluo, Pasisi. Chapter 933. Greetings, High Priestess. As soon as Pasisi appeared, the patrol team bowed. As the high priestess of the sea god's island, Pasisi's status was extremely noble. Pasisi waved her hand gently in the face of the patrol team's greetings, and dismissed them. Long time no see, Senior Pasisi. Lu Yuan greeted softly as he looked at Pasisi in front of him. They hadn't seen each other for 3 years, and Pasisi was still shockingly beautiful. Her long blue hair fell to her waist, and her beautiful face was like jade. Her aura was graceful and luxurious, and she also had a gentle feeling of tolerance. Her blue eyes were quiet and deep. She was truly a top-notch beauty in the world. Even Lu Yuan had to admit that this woman's beauty was comparable to Bibidon and Jiyu Yuana. Even if she wasn't as beautiful as Jiyu Yuana, she wasn't far off. In the past, it wasn't without reason that she could mesmerize Sendryu and Tang Chen. It's indeed been a long time. It's been close to 3 years, and you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Pasisi smiled. Her smile was bright and moving, but it was also very gentle. It gave people a feeling of closeness. There were many things to do, and Zhuqing also needed time to break through, so it took a lot of time. Lu Yuan said gently. Yes. Pasisi nodded gently. Her beautiful eyes turned and landed on Zhuqing. Rank 64, and your physique is comparable to a soul Douluo. Not bad at all. A trace of satisfaction flashed across Pasisi's eyes. Zhuqing had just turned 17, and she had reached rank 64. As an agility-type soul emperor, her physique was comparable to a soul Douluo's. It was very rare, and she was definitely a top-notch genius. Senior, you flatter me, Zhuqing said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Zhuqing had 100,000-year blue-silver emperor's right leg bone, 100,000-year blood-winged golden mosquito emperor's left arm bone, a 50,000-year wisdom skull, and a 70,000-year torso bone. Although Zhuqing's soul power was only at rank 64, Her physique was definitely not inferior to that of a high-level soul Douluo. His 7th soul ring was at least 80 to 90,000 years old. If he worked hard, he might even be able to reach 100,000 years old. But thinking about it carefully, these things on Zhu Zhuqing seemed to be given by him. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan's face showed a trace of strangeness. Am I too partial to her? She then looked at Ning Rongrong beside her and suddenly felt that she was indeed a little unfair to her. Yes. Pasisi nodded again. She was very satisfied with Zhu Zhuqing's neither servile nor overbearing behavior. Her beautiful eyes swept across the room again, and stopped on Hulena. In her eyes, Hulena's talent was even higher than Zhu Zhuqing's. Another peerless genius. Pasisi sighed softly. Hulena's condition naturally couldn't escape her eyes. In her eyes, Hulena's physique was comparable to a titled Douluo's, and it seemed to be slowly strengthening. This is. Pasisi pointed at Hulena and glanced at Lu Yuan. Hulena, also my fiancé. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Another fiancé? You seem to be a womanizer too. Pasisi shook her head in amusement. This fellow's luck with women was not bad. Furthermore, all of them were exceptional geniuses. However, with his exceptional talent, it wasn't surprising that he was so popular with women. What level are you at now? I can't see through you. Pasisi's gaze swept across the room before returning to Lu Yuan. With her high standards, only Zhu Zhuqing and Hulena could surprise her. Although the rest were also geniuses, like Ning Rongrong and the others, Pasisi didn't see them in a different light. She was actually most interested in Lu Yuan. In her eyes, Lu Yuan was the best successor to the sea god's position. It was a pity that Lu Yuan didn't care about the sea god's inheritance. He's only a rank 79 soul sage. He's not worth mentioning. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. A 17-year-old rank 79 soul sage is not worth mentioning. When I was your age, I was much weaker than you. Furthermore, I don't believe that you're just an ordinary soul sage. You give me a faint sense of danger. It seems that you've improved a lot in these 3 years. Pasisi gazed at Lu Yuan and said softly. Hearing this, Lu Yuan shrugged his shoulders and did not comment. All right, let's get down to business. Pasisi's smile faded and she asked with a serious expression, why are you with the deep-sea devil whale king? What's going on? Looking at the deep-sea magic whale king not far away, Poseidon's eyes were solemn. Even with the help of the sea god's power, she was only slightly stronger than the deep-sea devil whale king. Once she left the sea god's island, she wouldn't be its opponent even with the help of the sea. Therefore, she was actually very afraid of such a fierce beast. She was very puzzled. Why would Lu Yuan travel with such a fierce beast? It's better to let the deep-sea devil whale king explain it to me. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and issued a command with his spiritual power. The deep-sea devil whale king's huge body suddenly disappeared and turned into a middle-aged man in purple clothes. He appeared in front of Lu Yuan. Pasisi couldn't help but be startled when she saw the deep-sea devil whale king suddenly appear. She quickly took 2 steps back and her aura rose. Sir. The deep-sea devil whale king bowed to Lu Yuan. Pasisi's aura rose suddenly and her aura slowly dissipated. Sir. Pasisi looked at Lu Yuan with shock in her eyes. What did she just hear? The deep-sea devil whale king called Lu Yuan sir? The deep-sea devil whale king's hand? At this time, Pasisi finally noticed the deep-sea devil whale king's right arm. Its right arm was cut off. Seeing this scene, Pasisi was even more shocked. Who could cut off the deep-sea devil whale king's arm? I cut off its arm. On the way here, I just happened to meet this guy. This guy wanted to eat me, so I naturally fought back. After a big battle, I was lucky enough to win and cut off its arm. Therefore, Senior Pasisi, you don't have to be afraid. It didn't come to invade the sea god's island. Lu Yuan explained with a smile. You cut off its arm and subdued it. Pasisi finally couldn't maintain her calm expression. Her face was full of shock. Even the sea god couldn't subdue the deep-sea devil whale king, but it was actually subdued by Lu Yuan. Moreover, if he could defeat the deep-sea devil whale king, Didn't this mean that Lu Yuan's fighting strength was at least at the level of a demigod? A rank 79 soul sage's fighting strength was comparable to a demigod? Chapter 934. To be honest, Pasisi found it hard to believe. However, it was an indisputable fact that the deep-sea devil whale king was called Lu Yuan. It seemed like she had no choice but to believe it. No wonder I could sense a dangerous aura from your body. No wonder. Pasisi stared at Lu Yuan for a long time, as if she were looking at a monster. He was probably the only person in the history of the Douluo continent who could defeat the deep-sea devil whale king at rank 79. He was a genius that surpassed the imagination of others. Why don't we spar when we have time? Poseidon stared at Lu Yuan without blinking. She wanted to test the strength of such a peerless talent herself. Pasisi had never been defeated since she debuted. She had only lost to Long Xiaoyaro because the battlefield was disadvantageous for her. She could easily defeat Long Xiaoyaro even if they were on the beach. Therefore, she didn't think much of that battle. She was a sea-type soul master, and the ocean was her battlefield. She had easily defeated Tang Chen and Sendryu at sea. Her abilities were earth-shattering. However, she had only managed to force the deep-sea devil whale king back. Lu Yuan was able to defeat it. Not only did he break one of its arms, he even subdued it and completed a feat that even the sea god couldn't accomplish. To be honest, Pasisi really wanted to spar with Lu Yuan. She wanted to see how strong he was. After hearing Pasisi's words, Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Since Senior Pasisi is interested, I can't reject you. I'll definitely spar with you when I have time. I don't have many opportunities to give my all. It's my fortune to have an opponent like you to spar with." With Lu Yuan's current abilities, it was very difficult for him to find another opponent. Sendryu was already a thing of the past. He was no longer a match for Lu Yuan, even if he used his divine power. Long Xiaoyaro was the same. Under the suppression of his martial soul, he was probably even weaker than Sendryu. As for Tang Chen, he was still in Massacre City. It was hard to say exactly how strong he was. However, he was at most a demigod, and a broken demigod at that. He was no match for the demigod whale king, and naturally, he was no match for Lu Yuan. And the only one left was Pasisi. Using his divine power, Pasisi's strength was definitely not weaker than the deep-sea demonic whale king. He might even be a little bit stronger than the deep-sea demonic whale king. For the current Lu Yuan, he was definitely a good opponent. After all, without using the god-slaying spear and the true dragon claw, which allowed him to fight above his level, his combat power was only at the demigod realm, which was about the same as the deep-sea demonic whale king. Fighting with Pasisi was definitely a good opportunity for him to hone his strength. That's great. After hearing Lu Yuan's agreement, Pasisi revealed a smile on his face. Don't be fooled by his calm and graceful demeanor. In fact, he had a thirst for battle. After all, how could he not have experienced a few battles when he was able to cultivate to the extreme realm? He didn't fight normally because he hadn't met a suitable opponent. Alright, since everything is clear, I'll bring all of you to the Seahorse Divine Pillar to accept the Sea God's test. Only by accepting the Sea God's test can all of you stay here legitimately. Pasisi looked at Lu Yuan and the rest and spoke gently. Yes, Senior Pasisi is right. Everyone, follow me. You should come with us too. Lu Yuan glanced at the deep-sea demonic whale king. Yes, my lord. The deep-sea demonic whale king replied. Is that all right, Senior Pasisi? Lu Yuan asked. It's all right. However, you have to take care of him. Don't let him cause trouble everywhere, Pasisi said. I will. Lu Yuan replied softly. By the way, Senior Pasisi, there is still a young deep-sea demonic whale in the sea. It only has a cultivation of 50,000 years. Its character is very simple and kind. I don't feel at ease leaving it alone. Can we bring it along? Lu Yuan asked. Don't worry. I will let Little White bring it to the ring-shaped sea. If I'm not wrong, your first test will be at the ring-shaped sea. Pasisi said. The ring-shaped sea should be under the Sea God Palace, right? Lu Yuan asked. How do you know? Pasisi looked at him with some doubts. Ahem, I guessed. Lu Yuan coughed. He couldn't say that he had read about it in a book. Pasisi looked suspiciously at Lu Yuan and said softly, "Follow me." The group followed Pasisi and walked towards the seahorse divine pillar. "Greetings, High Priest." Seeing Pasisi, the seahorse Douluo immediately bowed. "This is the CC. The seahorse divine pillar. This is the guardian of the seahorse divine pillar, the seahorse Douluo. You will be taking the sea god's test here today." Pasisi pointed at the seahorse divine pillar that was hundreds of feet tall in front of them and said plainly, "However, if you want to take the test successfully, you will have to pass through the CC. Otherwise, you will not be qualified to take the sea god's test." As soon as he finished, Poseidon added, "Don't worry. That's it." Lu Yuan asked with a smile. "That's it. It should be very simple for you." Pasisi smiled. "It is indeed not challenging. However, Senior Pasisi, can we only go alone or can we bring others with us?" Lu Yuan asked with a smile. "Up to you. As long as you can pass," Pasisi said. "That's simple. Let's go." Lu Yuan smiled. He took the lead and stepped into the CCC. The CCC was just a huge pool of water with a diameter of 500 meters. There was a platform in the middle of the pool, and the seahorse divine pillar stood on this platform. The entire platform was only about 200 meters away from the shore. There were undoubtedly aquatic soul beasts in the CC. The so-called difficulty of passing through the CCC was just the attacks of the aquatic soul beasts and the waves created by the seahorse Douluo. However, for Lu Yuan, controlling water was the easiest. Of course, he did not plan to control water today. Instead, he wanted to control ice. After stepping into the CC, Lu Yuan walked on it. An icy blue light spread from his feet. Wherever the light spread, the seawater would freeze. Not long after, the entire CCC was covered with a thick layer of ice. "Follow me." Lu Yuan took the lead. Helena and the rest followed behind Lu Yuan. It was so convenient to have an invincible leader leading the way. They could win without having to do anything. When the seahorse Douluo saw this, his face turned green. The entire CCC was covered in ice. How was he going to control it? Aquatic soul masters had a great advantage in the water. However, there was no perfect thing in the world. They also had their nemesis, and that was ice-type soul masters. When the seawater froze, not only would the so-called water not be of help to them, but it would also be a great hindrance to their control of water. Ice came from water, but it could sometimes restrain water. Chapter 935. Lu Yuan had the bloodline of the five-clawed golden dragon king, so he could control ice a little. Furthermore, he had obtained the bone water dragon wings from the water dragon king, so his control of ice was even stronger. The water dragon king was also known as the ice dragon king. It was a water elemental holy dragon, and it could control ice while controlling water. It was different from the sea god. The sea god's element was a combination of light and water, so it could only control pure water. The water dragon king was different. Its divine domain was similar to the water god of the seven elemental gods. It could control both water and ice. Logically speaking, the sea god's divine position should be lower than the water god's. After all, the water god controlled the water element, which meant that it controlled all water in the world. The sea was also under the water god's control. This meant that the sea god's strength should be inferior to the water god's. However, the sea god was ranked at the top of the tier 1 gods, and was even stronger than the water god. This was actually very strange. As for why this was the case, it was up to the benevolent and the wise to the wise. The frost energy from the water dragon king's wings was extraordinary. Once it was released from Lu Yuan's body, it condensed into a thick layer of ice. Even if a normal soul king or soul emperor were to use their full strength, they wouldn't be able to destroy it. Therefore, Lu Yuan and the others were able to walk very steadily on the platform. Lu Yuan and the others crossed the 200-meter distance in an instant, and they walked up the platform in an orderly manner. The seahorse Douluo, who was sitting on the platform, looked at Lu Yuan and didn't say anything for a long time. He had guarded the seahorse holy pillar for so many years, and had tested many people, but this was the first time he had seen someone pass the test like Lu Yuan and the others. Speaking of which, is it really okay for you to cheat like this? Pasisi's figure flashed, and she also appeared on the platform. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. No one expected Lu Yuan to do this. He actually locked the test directly. Didn't you want to control the water and use the waves to block it? He directly froze the entire sea and flipped the table. What could anyone do when faced with such an unreasonable guy? Most importantly, the assessment did not say that this was not allowed. This was a reasonable use of the rules. However, she was still a little surprised in her heart. She didn't expect Lu Yuan to have an ice attribute ability, which made her quite surprised. Now that all of you have passed the test, you can take the Sea God's test now. Who will go first? Pasisi's voice rang out as she looked at everyone with her beautiful blue eyes. Evil Moon, you go first. Lu Yuan said softly. Naturally, they had to send someone with some strength for the first assessment. Besides Lu Yuan, Hulena, and Zhu Zhuqing, Evil Moon was the strongest. Evil Moon's current Moonblade martial soul had already evolved into a golden Moonblade. It was extremely close to ultimate gold, and its quality was even higher than the Clear Sky Hammer. Apart from Lu Yuan's God-slaying spear, Evil Moon's Moonblade could be considered the #1 tool martial soul. In addition, he was only 23 years old and was already at level 62. He had also comprehended greater mastery of Saber Force. This talent was actually quite good. Even after Ma Hongjun and the rest consumed the immortal herbs, their talents were only comparable to Evil Moon's. Evil Moon also had the potential to become a god. Of course, he was only a level 2 god. However, being a level 2 god was already very good. At least, he was much stronger than the original Evil Moon. Yes, Your Highness. Evil Moon acknowledged. After that, he took a step forward and came to the bottom of the Seahorse Holy Pillar. Pasisi nodded at the Seahorse Douluo. The Seahorse Douluo immediately stretched out his hands and placed them in front of his chest. A clear blue light started to appear between his hands. The blue light filled the Seahorse Douluo's hands. Suddenly, the blue light shone brightly and illuminated the entire platform. The entire Seahorse Holy Pillar started to climb up the blue light along the patterns. Very quickly, the blue light covered the entire Seahorse Holy Pillar. At this moment, the Seahorse Douluo pointed at Evil Moon. A blue pillar of light shot down from the top of the Seahorse Holy Pillar and enveloped Evil Moon. Evil Moon didn't feel anything special as he was enveloped by the blue pillar of light. His expression didn't change at all. However, the pillar of light that enveloped his body started to fluctuate and change colors. White, yellow, purple, black. The colors changed a few times and stopped at black. A look of astonishment flashed across the Seahorse Douluo's eyes. Black rank trial? Is it that difficult? I wonder how many trials it is. I hope the Sea God can take pity on them. The Seahorse Douluo sighed in his heart. The black rank trial was very dangerous. In the past, he had experienced a lot of difficulties and barely passed it. The trial was too difficult. If he didn't pass it, he would die. Although he was a little speechless when he saw Lu Yuan and the rest pass the trial in the icebound sea, he wasn't a bad person. He didn't want to see Evil Moon die in the trial. However, this was just the Seahorse Douluo's thought. For a true genius, they were never worried about the difficulty of the trial. Instead, they were worried about how much they would improve after the trial. The pillar of light that enveloped Evil Moon turned deep black. At the same time, black patterns started to crawl on the Seahorse Holy Pillar. The black patterns climbed higher and higher. They paused for a moment at 1/3 of the pillar. Then, they continued to climb and finally stopped at 2/3 of the Seahorse Holy Pillar. After the patterns stopped climbing, 6 rays of black light flew out from the Seahorse Holy Pillar and turned into 6 black light screens. The first light screen had golden words shining on it, while the other 5 light screens dimmed slightly. After that, the 6 light screens flew into Evil Moon's glabella. Suddenly, A 6-point star mark appeared on Evil Moon's forehead. The mark was as black as ink. The 6th black rank trial. 2 more trials than I took back then, the seahorse Douluo said softly. He looked at Evil Moon with sympathy. The 6th black rank trial? A light flashed across Pasisi's blue eyes. This talent was not bad. Of course, it was still not enough for her to take it seriously. Your Highness, how is the 6th black rank trial? Evil Moon didn't know what the 6th black rank trial was, but he knew that Lu Yuan definitely knew. It was this kind of blind trust. Ever since Lu Yuan easily defeated him twice and taught him the wonders of Intent Realm, he started to worship his brother-in-law, Lu Yuan. When someone was slightly stronger than you would want to compete with them. However, when they were much stronger than you could only look up to them. Worshipping the strong was an innate human instinct. After hearing Evil Moon's words, the rest of the people looked at Lu Yuan curiously. The 6th black rank trial is not bad. It's considered the top of the black rank trial. To be able to get it is an affirmation of your talent. Work hard. Pass the 6th black rank trial, and you will gain a lot of benefits. Lu Yuan said gently. Chapter 936. Not bad. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Evil Moon couldn't help but smile. Since Lu Yuan said it was not bad, then it must be not bad. As the first to appear, he was actually a little nervous. Fortunately, he didn't embarrass himself and got the 6th black exam. Not bad. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, the seahorse Douluo's mouth twitched. Does this young man have some misunderstanding about the black exam? Does he really think it's a game? People can die in the exam. This isn't a joke, it's really not a joke. If you can't complete the exam, you will lose your life. The difficulty of the black exam is very high. It's even more difficult to complete it. Everyone, I think I have to remind you that the Sea God's exam isn't that simple. If you can't pass it, you will die. Especially the black exam, it's very difficult. Back then, I took the 4th black exam. Even so, I hovered between life and death several times. If it wasn't for my good luck, I think I would have died. However, this young man in front of me took the 6th black exam. It's several times more difficult than mine back then. It's very difficult to complete the exam, so I want to tell you not to let your guard down. The seahorse Douluo said earnestly. As soon as he said that, everyone's expression changed. Evil Moon also looked at Lu Yuan, hoping to hear Lu Yuan's explanation. Sensing everyone's gaze on him, Lu Yuan smiled slightly. He looked at Pasisi and said, Senior Pasisi, do you have something to say? Pasisi looked at Lu Yuan helplessly and said, the seahorse Douluo is right. The 6th black exam is indeed very difficult. If you can't complete it, you will lose your life. However, fortune and misfortune come hand in hand. Just as Lu Yuan said, the more difficult the exam, the better the reward. As soon as Pasisi finished speaking, Lu Yuan swept his gaze across everyone and asked indifferently, do you all understand? Understood. Everyone nodded at the same time. No, I don't think you all understand. Let me explain it more clearly. The Sea God's test is also divided into 6 grades, namely white, yellow, purple, black, red, and gold. White is the lowest, gold is the highest. The assessment is not randomly given. It is given according to a person's talent. Evil Moon's assessment is the 6th black level assessment, which is also the top assessment in the black level assessment. As for the 7th level assessment, which is above it, it only appears in the red level assessment. Furthermore, the assessment given by the Sea God is based on one's ability. As long as you are willing to work hard, you will have a chance to complete it. Furthermore, the rewards will be great if you pass. None of you are ordinary people. You are all geniuses. You shouldn't worry about the problem of failing the exam. Instead, you should think about whether you can obtain a higher level exam, whether you can train yourself to a greater extent. This is how geniuses should think. As for those who are afraid of death and failure, don't participate in the test. I'll give you a ship and you can go back by yourself. I don't need such trash as my subordinates, Lu Yuan said coldly. That's right. Boss Yuan is right. We are geniuses and monsters. The harder the test, the more challenging it is. Come, I'll go next. Ma Hongjun said loudly as he walked towards the seahorse holy pillar. At this moment, everyone reacted. A look of shame flashed across their faces. Then, their eyes became determined. Lu Yuan was right. They were not ordinary people. They were all geniuses. Ma Hongjun went up, and Evil Moon came down. Senior, let's begin. I can't wait to find out what my test is, Ma Hongjun said with a look of urgency. Hearing this, the seahorse Douluo's mouth twitched. He suspected that this group of youngsters had all gone crazy. Or was this the way of thinking of geniuses? Was he outdated? Senior, Ma Hongjun urged. Oh. After being urged by Ma Hongjun, the seahorse Douluo immediately reacted. He stretched out his hand, and a blue pillar of light enveloped Ma Hongjun. The color of the pillar of light changed. Very quickly, it turned black. Seeing this, the seahorse Douluo sighed softly. However, Ma Hongjun's face was filled with joy. The patterns on the seahorse holy pillar lit up. Black light started to climb up. It stopped at 2/3 of the seahorse holy pillar's height. 6 black light screens flew out from the pillar and turned into streaks of dim light. They landed on Ma Hongjun's forehead and turned into a black hexagram mark. It's only the 6th black tess. Ma Hongjun touched his forehead and said something that made the seahorse Douluo want to curse. Only. The seahorse Douluo's eyes twitched. The 6th black test is too low? The 6th black test is not bad. It'll be very difficult for you to complete it. After all, your soul power is too low. Come back. Lu Yuan said plainly. Oh, since boss says it's not bad, then it's not bad. Ma Hongjun chuckled softly and ran down the stairs. After Ma Hongjun came down, the rest of the people started their tests. Oscar was the most talented food-type soul master on the continent. His final test was the 6th black test. Dugu Yang consumed the earth dragon golden melon and her martial soul evolved into a jade phosphorus poisonous flood dragon. She also cultivated the poison pill method. Her final test was the 6th black test. Fu Qinsheng was a rare outstanding spiritual type soul master. However, because he had never eaten an immortal herb, his talent was slightly lower. In the end, he took the 5th black test. Ling Wei, martial soul Dreadclaw Bear, took the 5th black test. Yi Lingling, martial soul 9-star Begonia, took the 5th black test. After the group of people took the test, the lowest test was the 5th black test. Evil Moon, Ma Hongjun, Oscar, and Dugu Yang all took the 6th black test. Although Fu Qinsheng and the others took the test slightly lower, it was because they had never eaten an immortal herb. Even so, to be able to take the 5th black test was enough to prove that their talent was quite extraordinary. Go, little fairy. Lu Yuan rubbed Ning Rongrong's head and said softly, "Hihi, I must pass the 6th black test." Ning Rongrong smiled when she was called a little fairy by Lu Yuan and said with a cute face, "As for you, you should be able to pass the 7th test." Lu Yuan gently rubbed his chin and said with a smile, "Really?" Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Ning Rongrong smiled until her big eyes narrowed. It turned out that Lu Yuan thought so highly of her. Really? Lu Yuan nodded affirmatively. In the original work, Ning Rongrong was the top 7th test, not to mention that the current Ning Rongrong was far more outstanding than in the original work. It would not be difficult for her to pass the top test. Moreover, Zhu Zhuqing would definitely need her help in the 9th test. For example, pulling out the sea god's trident in the 7th test, so Ning Rongrong would definitely pass the top 7th test. Hee. After getting Lu Yuan's affirmative answer, Ning Rongrong smiled and then skipped towards the seahorse saint pillar. Chapter 937. Ning Rongrong stood under the seahorse holy pillar and looked at the seahorse Douluo with her ice blue eyes. The seahorse Douluo was slightly stunned. He didn't believe what Lu Yuan said about Ning Rongrong being able to take the top-notch 7th examination. The top-notch 7th examination wasn't like the black examination. It was very difficult to trigger it. Furthermore, Hua Yuhao was only an auxiliary-type soul master, and her soul power was only at rank 57. He didn't believe that she could take the top-notch 7th examination. However, he still had to do what he was supposed to do. He pointed his finger, and a blue pillar of light enveloped Ning Rongrong. At the same time, Pasisi also looked at Ning Rongrong. She also wanted to know if this girl could take the top-notch 7th examination like Lu Yuan said. 7th examination, 7th examination. I want the 7th examination, Ning Rongrong muttered softly. She clasped her hands together and muttered something. Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile as he watched from the side. This girl was really a little cute. The blue pillar of light enveloped Ning Rongrong, and the light started to change rapidly. Soon, it turned black. The seahorse holy pillar also started to shine with black light. 1/3, 2/3. The black light followed the patterns on the pillar until it reached 2/3 of the pillar. After that, it stopped. Phew, black grade 6th examination? I knew it. How could it be the top-notch 7th? The seahorse Douluo heaved a sigh of relief when he saw this. He relaxed a little. However, the black light that stopped just now took another step forward before he could finish speaking. Suddenly, a red light flashed and dyed the entire seahorse holy pillar blood red. At the same time, 7 streaks of red light flew out from the seahorse holy pillar and turned into 7 red light screens. After that, they turned back into red light and rushed into Ning Rongrong's forehead. A red heptagram was left on her forehead. It really is the top-notch 7th examination. The seahorse Douluo opened his mouth wide in disbelief. Did I make a mistake? Pasisi shook her head slightly. In fact, she didn't believe that Ning Rongrong could take the top-notch 7th examination when Lu Yuan said those words. However, she didn't expect Ning Rongrong to really take the top-notch 7th examination as Lu Yuan said. Yeah, I'm the top 7 exam. Ning Rongrong cheered when she saw that she had won the top 7 exam. Then, she threw herself into Lu Yuan's arms. Abuchi, I'm one of the top 7 examiners. Ning Rongrong laughed cheerfully. Her face was full of happiness. Not bad, my Rongrong is really amazing. Lu Yuan was not stingy with his praise. Hee hee. Ning Rongrong giggled and hugged Lu Yuan tightly. Rongrong really got the 7th exam. Ma Hongjuan's face was full of envy. He also wanted the 7th exam. Amazing. Evil Moon sighed softly. She really deserved to be Lu Yuan's woman. Even though she was only an auxiliary-type soul master, she still managed to pass the 7th test. He had no choice but to admire her. Nana, go, it's your turn, Lu Yuan said to Hulena with a smile as he gently stroked Ning Rongrong's long hair. Okay. Hulena nodded gently. Then, she walked towards the seahorse holy pillar. I wonder what kind of exam Nana will get. Evil Moon asked curiously. Hulena was his sister. Naturally, he was very concerned about her. Let's take the top 8 exams, Lu Yuan said softly. Hulena's talent was enough for her to pass the 9th exam. However, she had obtained the Killing God's domain, which was equivalent to being chosen by the Azura god. Since she did not obtain the Sea God's heart, it was impossible for her to pass the 9th exam. Therefore, she could only pass the 8th exam. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Pasisi nodded. Hulena deserved to pass the 8th exam. After what had just happened, the seahorse Douluo did not dare to think about it anymore. He was afraid that he would be slapped in the face again. He obediently carried out his job. After some work, he looked at the blood-red 8-pointed star on Hulena's forehead. He was completely convinced. She really did pass the top 8 exam. The top 8 exam. Hulena smiled as she stared at Lu Yuan with her pink eyes. Not bad. Come back. Lu Yuan smiled. Hulena smiled and walked back in Lu Yuan's direction. Zhuqing, go and prepare for your exam. After Hulena returned, Lu Yuan patted Zhuqing's shoulder and said gently, Okay. Zhuqing's cold voice sounded. Her clear eyes blinked and flashed with a strange light. Then, she walked towards the seahorse holy pillar. Abuchi, can Zhuqing do it? Hulena asked softly as she placed her hand on Lu Yuan's arm. She was naturally talking about whether Zhu Zhuqing could pass the sea god's 9 exams. Don't worry. It's in the bag. Lu Yuan smiled. Zhu Zhuqing's talent was already top-notch. In addition, the sea god's heart had recognized her as its master. There was basically no chance of her failing. Furthermore, the sea god had wanted to pass on his godly seat for a long time. It was rare for him to find someone who met the requirements. He would not let her go. Just like the angel god, he was rushing to pass on his godly seat to Chihiro Snow. For this reason, he had even given Qian Renxue the 9 sacred sword tests to help her pass the test. His intentions were clear as day. Zhu Zhuqing stood under the seahorse holy pillar, and Poseidon's blue eyes stared at her. Zhu Zhuqing was the candidate that Poseidon had discussed with Lu Yuan, and the sea god had agreed as well. However, whether or not Zhu Zhuqing could receive the inheritance was still up to the sea god to conduct the final test. After all, there was no proof. Everything had to be done with facts. The blue pillar of light enveloped Zhu Zhuqing. In just a moment, it turned black, and then red. On the seahorse holy pillar, the red light followed the patterns and lit up. In just a moment, it had reached 2/3 of the pillar. The red light paused for a moment. Then, it moved forward again. Finally, it stopped near the top of the pillar where Helena had taken her test. The 8 top-notch trials? Pasisi frowned. Could it be that even a genius like Zhu Zhuqing could not receive the sea god's approval? However, just as this thought appeared in her mind, the light that had paused moved forward again. Then, the golden light shone brightly and rushed to the top. The entire seahorse holy pillar had turned into a long golden pillar. The golden light seemed to rush into the clouds. The entire sea ocean shook. 9 golden lights shot out from the top of the seahorse holy pillar and turned into 9 golden light screens. Then, they turned into golden light and disappeared into Zhu Zhuqing's forehead, leaving behind a golden trident imprint. This imprint looked majestic and holy. It was filled with a majestic aura. The 9 exams of the sea god. Lu Yuan and Pasisi said this almost at the same time. Lu Yuan's eyes were filled with a gentle smile, while Pasisi's eyes were filled with relief. Chapter 938. As expected, I knew Zhu Qing wouldn't disappoint me. Lu Yuan smiled gently with a satisfied look in his eyes. Compared to Chihiro Snow and Helena, who were already very talented, Zhu Zhuqing's talent was much weaker. To put it bluntly, Lu Yuan had contributed greatly to her current achievements. Zhu Zhuqing had been raised by him single-handedly. Lu Yuan felt very gratified when he saw Zhu Zhuqing successfully pass the 9 tests of the sea god. Congratulations on passing the 9 tests of the sea god, Pasisi's pleasant voice rang out as she looked at Zhu Zhuqing. Her eyes were filled with kindness. Zhu Zhuqing could be considered the successor of the sea god that she had fought for from Lu Yuan. Otherwise, the inheritance of the sea god would have been lost a long time ago. After all, the heart of the sea god was in Lu Yuan's hands. If he didn't want to take it out, no one would be able to snatch it from him. Zhu Zhuqing was his woman. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't even think about it. Pasisi was naturally happy that she had saved the inheritance of the sea god with her own hands. At the same time, she also took special care of Zhu Zhuqing, who had inherited the sea god's inheritance. Thank you, Senior Pasisi, Zhu Zhuqing said softly. Her cold expression didn't change in the slightest. Pasisi naturally didn't care about this. Instead, she admired Zhu Zhuqing, who was cold on the outside but passionate on the inside. Zhuqing, can I call you that? Pasisi asked. Of course, Zhu Zhuqing said with a nod. I still have some things to tell you about the 9 tests of the sea god. I'm sure Lu Yuan has already told you what it represents. You should understand it already, so I won't say anything more. What I want to say is that the 9 tests of the sea god are held consecutively. You have to complete 1 test every year. The difficulty of the tests is very high. However, you must complete it. You can fail the black grade exam, but you can't fail the 9 tests of the sea god because the consequences of failure are even more severe than death. At that time, not only you, but the entire sea god's island will be destroyed, so you can't have any thoughts of failure. You must complete it in one go. Do you understand? Pasisi said. Understood. Zhu Zhuqing nodded gently and said. It's good that you understand. Pasisi smiled. Zhu Zhuqing walked back. Apart from Lu Yuan and Hulena, almost everyone was looking at her with admiration in their eyes. The 9 trials of the sea god. This was the most difficult trial among all of them. Lu Yuan, it's your turn. Pasisi whispered to Lu Yuan. Do I have to participate in the assessment too? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. With his strength, what kind of test could stump him? The tests on the sea god's island were probably not enough. I know that you are strong, but the assessment is necessary. This is the rule. Only by passing the assessment can you stay on the sea god's island openly. Moreover, the sea god's methods are extraordinary. With your strength, the difficulty of the assessment will be very high. Pasisi said. Then I'll wait and see. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Just as he was about to take a step forward, a cold voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Sign-in begins. Sign-in time, 1 minute. 1 minute. Heh, this is probably the shortest check-in in history. Lu Yuan said in his heart. Then, he took a step forward and walked towards the seahorse holy pillar. Half a minute later, the golden light soared into the sky again. The 3 golden light screens turned into a golden light and imprinted in between Lu Yuan's eyebrows. The original golden sacred sword imprint disappeared, and a golden trident imprint appeared on Lu Yuan's forehead. Sea God's 3 tests. Feeling the information in his mind, Lu Yuan sighed softly. This assessment is a little interesting. Sea God's 3 test. Pasisi narrowed his eyes and felt the instructions in his mind. Then, he looked at Lu Yuan and smiled faintly. I told you, your assessment isn't simple. If it's too simple, then it's meaningless. Senior Pasisi, I really didn't expect that I would have to defeat you. Lu Yuan smiled softly. He was different from Zhu Zhuqing and the others. He already knew what the 3 tests were. Defeating Pasisi was one of them. Moreover, he had to defeat a strengthened Pasisi who went all out. It was definitely a very challenging assessment. It's not that easy to defeat me. I won't go easy on you. Pasisi chuckled softly. Of course. What's the point of going easy on you? Lu Yuan said. Hearing this, Pasisi smiled and nodded. She admired Lu Yuan's attitude when facing challenges. The 2 of them smiled and conversed. Zhu Zhuqing, Hulena, and the others didn't react at all. However, the seahorse Douluo had a strange expression on his face. He didn't know Lu Yuan's true strength. When he heard that one of the tests was to defeat Pasisi, he couldn't help but feel pity. In his heart, Pasisi was like a god who was invincible. Although he could clearly feel that Lu Yuan was extraordinary, he didn't think that Lu Yuan could be a match for Pasisi. Of course, Lu Yuan didn't care about the seahorse Douluo's thoughts. Ding. Sign-in complete. Rewards have been issued. Do you want to receive your reward? As the 2 of them chatted, the system's voice sounded in Lu Yuan's mind again. Receive reward. The 8-tailed illusion fox will be kept for now. Lu Yuan ordered in his mind. Ding. Rewards are being issued. Ding. Rewards have been issued. After a soft ding, a golden card silently appeared in Lu Yuan's arms. It didn't attract anyone's attention. Senior Pasisi, can you lead us to the sea god's mountain? Our first test should be there. Lu Yuan said softly as he looked at Pasisi. Of course. Pasisi chuckled. Then I'll have to thank Senior Pasisi. Lu Yuan said with a faint smile. The Sea God's Mountain was located in the center of Sea God's Island. The most sacred building on Sea God's Island was located here, the Sea God's Palace. The statue of the Sea God and his super divine weapon, the Sea God's Trident, were stored in the Sea God's Palace. Sea God's Island was very big. It was at least 200 miles from the Seahorse Holy Pillar to the Sea God's Mountain. The entire Sea God's Island was about 500 miles in diameter. If one said that it was about the size of a small city, it wouldn't be a problem at all. 200 miles was a long journey for ordinary people, But it wasn't much for Soul Masters. In less than 2 hours, Lu Yuan and the others arrived near the Sea God's mountain. A towering mountain appeared in front of them. The entire mountain was about 500 meters tall. The vegetation on the mountain was lush and green, and it exuded vitality. Chapter 939. There was a squarish divine hall at the top of the mountain. It was like white jade, resplendent and translucent. In reality, it was not white jade, but an extremely special kind of stone. It was tough and flawless. It was a very rare building material, but the entire Sea Goddess Palace was made of this kind of stone. Putting everything else aside, the Sea God's Island was really rich. The pure white Sea Goddess Palace seemed so sacred and dignified that people could not help but revere it. Below the Sea God's Island were steps made of white stone. They were densely packed together, extending from the peak of the Sea Goddess Palace to the foot of the mountain. The entire Sea Goddess Palace, including all the steps, was suffused with a layer of faint golden light. The Sea Goddess Mountain was within a ring of sea, which just happened to envelop the entire Sea Goddess Mountain. The Sea Goddess Mountain was in the middle of the sea. This ring of sea was the ring-shaped sea. We're here. This is the Sea Goddess Mountain, and also the forbidden grounds of our Sea God's Island. Your first test will be held here. Pasisi pointed at the Sea Goddess Mountain as Lu Yuan's group appeared in the ring-shaped sea. Is it the light of the Sea Goddess? Lu Yuan murmured. His gaze changed slightly as he looked at the Sea Goddess Mountain that shone with a faint golden light. Looks like you know about the light of the Sea Goddess, Pasisi could not help but say softly when he saw the change in Lu Yuan's gaze. I've seen something similar before. Lu Yuan shook his head and said softly. Oh. Pasisi glanced at Lu Yuan meaningfully. This kid should have seen something similar during the God King test, Pasisi thought. Actually, I still think you're the most promising successor. It's a pity that you're not willing. Sigh. Pasisi looked at Lu Yuan and sighed. In the end, she would definitely be sacrificed to the successor of the sea god. It could be said that she would definitely die. However, if the successor was a peerless genius like Lu Yuan, she would accept it wholeheartedly and would not be unwilling. If it were an ordinary genius, she would still have her own thoughts. For example, she was not convinced that Tang San had obtained the 9 tests of the sea god in the original work. Because she was a super genius, she did not feel that she was weaker than Tang San. In addition, she still had some regrets in her heart, which was why she wanted to kill Tang San in the 6th test. After all, how could she be convinced if he did not surpass her by a huge margin? She liked Tang Chen not only because of Tang Chen's indomitable spirit, but also because Tang Chen was the first person in the world to reach level 99 on his own. Unlike her and Chen Douluo, who relied on the afterglow of the gods to reach such a realm. That was why she saw Tang Chen in a different light. After all, the Douluo continent was a world where strength was respected. Strength was a person's greatest charm, especially a man's. Hearing Pasisi's words, Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, "Isn't Zhu Qing not bad? She was chosen by you personally." That's true. Zhu Qing is indeed not bad. Pasisi nodded and said softly. She had thought wrongly. It was already good enough to obtain the successor of the sea god and let the sea god's legacy pass on smoothly. How could she have any more requests? After coming back to her senses, Pasisi glanced at Lu Yuan and the others and said, "I've brought you the place. As for the test, you can arrange it yourselves. I'll leave first. As for the food, don't worry. Someone will deliver fresh food to you every day. Then I'll have to trouble Senior Pasisi." Lu Yuan smiled softly. Pasisi nodded. Then, with a flash of light, her figure disappeared on the spot. Seeing Pasisi's back disappear, Lu Yuan turned around and looked at everyone with torch-like eyes. "The first test is to pass through the light of the sea god, right? Tell me about the specific test." Lu Yuan said softly. "The first test of the black rank is to pass through the first 124 steps of the forbidden area." Evil Moon's voice sounded. Same. Du Gu Yang, Ma Hongjun, and Oscar's voices sounded at the same time. Mine is to pass through the first 108 steps of the forbidden area, Fu Qinsheng said. Me too. Me too. Ling Wei and Yi Lingling also echoed. Pass through the first 140 steps of the forbidden area. Abuchi, it's so difficult for me. Ning Rongrong threw herself into Lu Yuan's arms and said with a pitiful face. As an auxiliary-type soul master, the difficulty of the test was actually higher than those soul warriors. It was really difficult for her. Who asked you to be the 7th test? The higher the level of the test, the more difficult it is. Lu Yuan chuckled. Is it too late for me to regret now? She suddenly didn't want the 7th test anymore. It's too late. Lu Yuan shook his head and said. Hearing this, Ning Rongrong drooped her small head and lay motionless in Lu Yuan's arms. Nana, what about you? Lu Yuan asked. Pass through the first 310 steps of the forbidden area, Hulena said softly. Rank 310? I'm rank 311, Zhu Zhuqing's voice sounded. Just one level higher. Lu Yuan glanced at the two of them and understood. The difficulty of the sea god's 9th test was definitely higher than that of the top 8 tests. However, Zhu Zhuqing's soul power was much lower than Hulena's, so it was normal for the difficulty to be reduced. After all, they were almost 3 years younger than when they took the test in the original work. More than 300 steps, your test is so difficult. Hearing Hulena and Zhu Zhuqing's words, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but widen her eyes and say, do you still think that 140 steps is a lot? Looking at Ning Rongrong, Lu Yuan asked with a smile. I don't think so anymore. Ning Rongrong shook her head and said. Compared to them who were over level 300, her level of 140 was really nothing. What about you, Abuchi? Hulena looked at him with a trace of curiosity in her eyes. The rest of the people also looked over curiously, wanting to know what Lu Yuan's test was about. Me. My test is to pass through all of the light of the sea god and reach the top of the 1001st step. Lu Yuan said calmly. Hiss. A series of gasps sounded. 1001st step? Awesome, really awesome. This is really difficult, Abuchi. Are you confident? Hulena asked worriedly. Who knows if we don't try? Lu Yuan smiled slightly. There was no trace of worry in his eyes. This test was not difficult for him. Moreover, the duration of the test was 1 year. If Lu Yuan was given a year, how strong could he become? Even Lu Yuan himself couldn't imagine it. After all, his growth speed could be said to be very fast. Let's go. Everyone, let's try the light of the sea god. Lu Yuan smiled gently. These people must feel very novel for the first time coming into contact with the light of the sea god. It was like the first time he saw the 9 steps celestial staircase in the angel test. That feeling was very exciting. Chapter 940. Everyone stepped forward. There was a vast sea in front of them. It was the ring-shaped sea. If they wanted to enter the sea god's mountain, they had to cross the ring-shaped sea first. The ring-shaped sea was so vast that even soul kings and soul emperors couldn't cross it directly. They could only swim. However, they would definitely be drenched if they swam. Abuchi, my 3rd soul skill allows me to fly. Everyone can fly if they eat one of my sausages. Oscar said to Lu Yuan as he looked at the ring-shaped sea in front of him. Everyone was shocked when they heard Oscar's words. Flying skills were very rare. Oscar could be considered an extremely talented food-type soul master if he had such an auxiliary-type soul skill. However, those who understood Oscar, such as Ma Hongjun and the others, were speechless. Oscar's sausages were pretty good, but his soul curse was very strange. Those who heard it for the first time wouldn't be able to eat his sausages. There's no need for that. We'll have to cross the sea god's light later. You should conserve some soul power. You've used up more than half of your soul power after making these 10 sausages. Lu Yuan shook his head and said. Oscar's 3rd soul skill wasn't his 1st soul skill. His 1st soul skill was recovery sausages, and he could make hundreds of them. However, his 3rd soul skill required him to fly, which consumed a lot of soul power. Furthermore, Oscar's third soul skill was called I Have a Big Black Sausage. After hearing this name, Lu Yuan guessed that many people wouldn't be able to eat Oscar's sausages. After all, they hadn't trained together before. This was the first time they had gathered together. It would be a little difficult for them to accept Oscar's sausages. Let me do it, Lu Yuan said softly. He waved his right hand, and the entire ring-shaped sea started to shake. Streams of water shot out. Under Lu Yuan's control, they condensed into a huge water bridge above the ring-shaped sea. Water flowed on the water bridge, and it was very strange. After that, blue light flickered in Lu Yuan's hand and poured into the water bridge. The entire water bridge started to condense. Not long later, it turned into ice. An ice bridge emitting white mist stood directly above the ring-shaped sea. The sunlight shone on the ice bridge, refracting 7 colored rays of light. It was exceptionally gorgeous. The diameter of the ring-shaped sea was more than 2,000 meters, which meant that the ice bridge Lu Yuan condensed was also more than 2,000 meters long. To be able to condense such a long ice bridge, Lu Yuan's attainments in controlling water and ice were already beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Boss, you're really awesome. I'm convinced. Ma Hongjun couldn't help but exclaim in surprise as he looked at this exquisite and magnificent bridge that directly crossed the distance of 2,000 meters and reached the ice bridge on the other side. It is indeed powerful. The eyes of Evil Moon and the others were also filled with shock. In their eyes, this ice bridge was directly condensed by Lu Yuan. The impact of this was enormous. Hee, let's go. Lu Yuan chuckled and led the way onto the ice bridge. With Lu Yuan's current level of controlling ice, the ice condensed by him was quite hard. It was not a problem for them to walk on it. The distance of 2,000 meters flashed by, and everyone set foot at the foot of the Sea God Mountain. Let's not tear down the ice bridge. It's convenient for the attendants of the Sea God Island to send food. Those who want to try can go up. I'll give you a piece of advice. If you can't hold on, don't climb up anymore. Just come down. There's still plenty of time. There's no need to rush, Lu Yuan instructed. Yes. Everyone nodded in unison. All right. Lu Yuan nodded and walked to the seaside. He whistled softly. Suddenly, 2 figures appeared on the ring-shaped sea. One was dark blue, and the other was silver. They were swimming towards him. Soon, they arrived in the sea in front of Lu Yuan and revealed their full appearances. One was a deep-sea demon whale that was more than 40 meters long, and the other was more than 80 meters long. It was the demon soul Great White Shark King that Lu Yuan had seen before. Xiaolan. Looking at the deep-sea demon whale in front of him, Lu Yuan couldn't help but pat its head with a warm smile on his face. From the bottom of his heart, he really liked this simple-minded and kind-hearted deep-sea demon whale. Its naivety reminded Lu Yuan of Wang Qiu. That little girl was also very naive. Thank you for bringing Xiaolan here. I'll remember this kindness. Looking at the demon soul Great White Shark King, Lu Yuan said softly. No need. It's just a small matter. The demon soul Great White Shark King gently opened its mouth and let out a crisp female voice. Although its voice was pleasant to the ears, it was slightly trembling. You seem to be afraid of me. You don't have to be. It's not like I'll eat you. Lu Yuan laughed softly. Hearing this, the demon soul Great White Shark King thought to itself. How could I not be afraid of that terrifying dragon roar that you emitted not long ago? What's your name? Your skin is so white. Don't tell me you're called Xiaobai. Lu Yuan continued. The corner of the demon soul Great White Shark King's mouth twitched. It's really called Xiaobai. How could this guy be so accurate? Looking at you, you're really called Xiaobai. It seems that I guessed right. I heard that you're the mount of the sea god. Don't tell me that the sea god gave you this name. Lu Yuan asked. It's the name that the sea god gave me, Xiaobai nodded and said. It looked at Lu Yuan with a strange gaze. This guy guessed right again. However, although its gaze was strange, the fear it felt was reduced by a lot. This was because it realized that Lu Yuan wasn't that unapproachable and domineering. He also didn't have any intention of hurting it. It seems that the sea god's naming skills are about the same as mine. We're both equally bad. Hearing Xiao Bai's words, Lu Yuan smiled and said softly. The demon soul Great White Shark King's body was silver white. The sea god called it Xiao Bai. The deep-sea demon whale's skin was dark blue. Lu Yuan called it Xiao Lan. The two's naming skills were about the same. You're not allowed to belittle the sea god. Xiao Bai retorted with a trace of dissatisfaction. What's wrong with Xiao Bai? Isn't this name nice? You're quite protective of your master. Interesting. Hearing Xiao Bai's words, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. It was obviously afraid of him, but it still dared to scold him when he said bad things about the sea god. Its loyalty to the sea god was unquestionable. All right, if you don't want to say it, then don't say it. I'll give you face. Waving his hand, Lu Yuan said warmly. Hearing this, Xiao Bai blinked its eyes, and its eyes became much kinder. This person seems to be quite easy to get along with. Opening his mouth, Lu Yuan was about to speak when a strong wind suddenly attacked from behind. Lu Yuan moved his body, and a figure directly smashed into the water between Xiao Lan and Xiao Bai, causing a splash. Chapter 941. With a splash, white water splashed in all directions. With a wave of his hand, Lu Yuan blocked all the water that splashed out. With a splashing sound, a red figure emerged from the sea. Hee, Boss Yuan. Ma Hongjun was drenched and looked at Lu Yuan embarrassedly. Bounced off. You've turned a deaf ear to my words, haven't you? Looking at Ma Hongjun, Lu Yuan's face was expressionless as he spoke. Looking at this guy, he knew that this guy must have been messing around in the light of the sea god. He couldn't hold on, but he still wanted to be brave. In the end, he was bounced off. Hey, boss, your eyes are really sharp. I can't hide anything from you. Ma Hongjun chuckled. Don't be so cheeky with me. Get lost. Don't disturb my chat with Xiao Lan and Xiao Bai. Lu Yuan waved his hand and said unhappily. Hee, right away. Ma Hongjun laughed and his soul rings lit up. He spread his wings and flew out of the ring-shaped sea. I don't like this fatty's aura. Xiao Bai said softly as he looked at the aura of the phoenix flames on Ma Hongjuan's body. Xiao Lan also nodded in agreement. Aquatic soul beasts hated fire-type soul masters the most, especially when Ma Hongjun had the aura of a phoenix. To fish-type soul beasts, phoenixes were undoubtedly the most hated existence. Hence, Ma Hongjun was despised by Xiao Bai and the others. It's normal that you don't like him. After all, this fatty's martial soul is a fire phoenix. However, this fatty is a good person. He's very loyal. You guys can get to know him. I think they won't be able to do without you in their assessment. Lu Yuan said softly. How do you know so much? Xiao Bai was surprised. Although he wasn't very clear about the content of the assessment, he knew that Zhu Zhuqing and the others couldn't do without him in their assessment. After all, he was the sea god's mount. There was no reason why the sea god's assessment wouldn't include him. Hey, it's a secret. Lu Yuan smiled and didn't answer. Hearing this, Little White rolled her eyes. She was a little dissatisfied with Lu Yuan's silence. All right, I won't chat with you anymore. I'm going to take a look at the sea god's light. I'll have to trouble you to take care of Xiao Lan. I'll definitely repay you in the future. Lu Yuan patted Xiao Lan's head again, stood up, and looked at Xiao Bai. Who cares about your repayment? However, I will help you take care of Xiao Lan. This little girl is very different from the deep-sea demonic whale king. She is very pure. Little White said calmly. Thank you. I'm going. Lu Yuan smiled, and then he turned around and walked towards the light of the sea god. Little White watched as Lu Yuan stood up and brought Little Blue back into the ring-shaped sea. When Lu Yuan arrived, Hulena and Zhu Zhuqing were retreating down the stairs. How do you feel? When the two women came to his side, Lu Yuan asked softly. The pressure is a little high. Right now, I can only climb up to the 80th step. Zhu Zhuqing said softly with a serious expression. This is already very good. After all, It's your first time climbing. Just try more in the future. There's still a year's time. Don't worry, Lu Yuan said softly as he caressed Zhu Zhuqing's face. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing nodded her head vigorously. What about you, Nana? Looking at Helena, Lu Yuan asked softly. Me? When I climbed to the 140th step, I couldn't take it anymore. Helena said softly. You're indeed the best. Take care of Zhuqing later on in the training. Do you understand? Lu Yuan said gently. Oh, I understand. Helena nodded her head lightly. Well, sorry to trouble you. Gently rubbing Helena's head, Lu Yuan had a gentle smile on his face. The 311th step is definitely a big challenge for Zhu Zhuqing, but the 310th step is definitely more than enough for Helena. Helena is also a top 8 examiner. Sea God's arrangement must be to let Helena help Zhu Zhuqing. No, it's my duty. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Helena shook her head and said. Hearing this, Lu Yuan smiled and gently pinched Helena's rosy face. Phew, Abuchi, I'm exhausted. A soft voice sounded in Lu Yuan's ears, and Ning Rongrong threw herself into Lu Yuan's arms with a burst of fragrance. How many steps did you climb? Lu Yuan asked softly as he held Ning Rongrong's waist. 40. Ning Rongrong raised her head and said embarrassedly. I knew it. Girl, you can only reach level 40 at most. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Ah, don't say it. It's so embarrassing. Zhuqing and the others are all above level 80. I feel like I'm trash, Ning Rongrong said with some disappointment. 40 steps is about right. The difficulty of your assessment is different. Moreover, there's still a year's time. In this year, I'll refine more body tempering pills. After taking them, your physique will quickly strengthen. Passing the final assessment won't be a problem. Moreover, the pressure of the light of the sea god is so great. Not only can it temper the physique, but it's also twice the result with half the effort. Therefore, this year, I hope that you can come to the end of the assessment and try to cultivate under the light of the sea god. It's a rare opportunity, Lu Yuan said in a deep voice. Being able to cultivate in an environment like the light of the sea god was definitely a rare opportunity. The light of the sea god was different from the 9 steps to heaven. There was only pressure in the light of the sea god, but there were no flames. Therefore, there was no danger, and one could continue to cultivate. On the 9th step of the 9 steps to heaven, there was the golden angelic flames. Its temperature was even higher than ultimate fire. Even in such an environment, Lu Yuan still persevered and cultivated for a long time before he managed to cultivate a physique that was impervious to fire and water for the first time. Even though it was extremely painful, he still persevered. As long as it didn't violate his bottom line, he definitely wouldn't let go of an opportunity to improve his strength. We got it. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, the 3 girls responded at the same time. They naturally didn't doubt Lu Yuan's words. They were all very convinced. It's good that you know. You've all passed. Now, it's my turn to give it a try. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and then let go of Ning Rongrong. Good luck. Ning Rongrong clenched her little fists and cheered. Just you wait and see. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. In a flash, he disappeared from where he was and appeared in front of the steps. Light of the sea god, let's see how much pressure you have. Lu Yuan reached out and touched the faint golden light in front of him. Then, he squeezed his way in. Chapter 942. Is this the first step? As he stepped forward, Lu Yuan didn't seem to feel any pressure at all. To him, the first step of the sea god's light wasn't much different from the outside world. I can't be bothered to waste time. Let's speed up. Lu Yuan shook his head. The dragon's roar beneath his feet whistled, and his entire body was like a roaring golden dragon as he ascended. In just a moment, Lu Yuan appeared at the 500th step. There's no pressure at all. However, I'm afraid that anyone below the transcendent Douluo level will find it difficult to withstand the pressure of the 500th step. Although Nana's physique isn't inferior to an ordinary titled Douluo's, There's still a gap between her and a true titled Douluo. After all, her soul power is much lower. An ordinary titled Douluo would only be able to reach 400th step after some training. No wonder Nununa couldn't withstand it, Lu Yuan muttered to himself after experiencing the strength of the sea god's light. From the 500th step onwards, the sea god's light would undergo a qualitative change. Only a transcendent Douluo would be able to reach it. However, this is still far from enough for me. Pressure, haha. I'm least afraid of pressure. Lu Yuan chuckled. After that, he sped up again and quickly climbed up. Look, boss is speeding up again. After Lu Yuan started climbing, everyone stopped what they were doing and looked at Lu Yuan. They were all very curious as to how many steps Lu Yuan could climb. However, Lu Yuan's performance at the beginning gave them a shock. In the blink of an eye, Lu Yuan had reached the 500th step. It was a height that they could only dream of. What made them even more speechless was that Lu Yuan sped up again after standing still for a while. He's almost at the 700th step. Evil Moon clicked his tongue as he looked at Lu Yuan's figure. Although he knew that Lu Yuan was very strong, he didn't have a direct experience of it. However, after seeing Lu Yuan pass through the sea god's light today, he finally knew how big the gap between them was. He had only reached the 65th step after risking his life. However, Lu Yuan had reached the 700th step in the blink of an eye. Furthermore, he was still climbing rapidly. The gap between them was so big that it made him feel hopeless. I think boss can reach the 900th step at the end, Ma Hongjun said confidently. He was the first underling of Lu Yuan, and the only person who addressed Lu Yuan as boss. He was very confident of Lu Yuan. No, I think it's at least 950 steps. Liana shook her head and said, Estus light. You're all underestimating him. I think he can reach the 1000th step. Ning Rongrong shook her head and said with certainty. If Liana trusted Lu Yuan wholeheartedly, then Ning Rongrong's confidence in Lu Yuan had reached the point of blindness. As soon as Ning Rongrong said this, Zhu Zhuqing and the others all looked at her. Why are you all looking at me like this? You don't believe me? Ning Rongrong said with dissatisfaction. I believe you, I believe you. Everyone responded and averted their gazes with strange expressions on their faces. You obviously don't believe me, but you dare to underestimate Ibuchi. You'll definitely be surprised when the final result comes out. Zhuqing, when the time comes, I'll definitely tell Ibuchi that you don't believe he can reach the 1000th step. Ning Rongrong snorted and said coquettishly. Zhu Zhuqing's mouth twitched when she heard this. She was a little speechless. She didn't say that she didn't believe Hua Yuhao, but reaching the 1000th step was a little too shocking. Although she was confident in Lu Yuan, she didn't dare to make such a guarantee. Furthermore, if she wanted to tell Lu Yuan about this, it would be too. Rongrong, this girl is really, no wonder she's Lu Yuan's #1 fan. Zhu Zhuqing shook her head. She was a little speechless about Ning Rongrong's actions. Ning Rongrong looked around at everyone and snorted again. She shifted her gaze to Lu Yuan, who was still climbing. Go, Ibuchi. Ning Rongrong clenched her fists and said coquettishly. While Ning Rongrong and the others were talking at the foot of the Sea God's Mountain, Lu Yuan had already reached the 900th step. After reaching the 900th step, there was another qualitative change. The pressure suddenly increased to the level of an ultimate Douluo. This is interesting. He's actually reached the ultimate Douluo realm from the 900th step. What about the 1000th step? He's at least a demigod. Lu Yuan's expression became serious as he sensed the terrifying pressure from the dense golden light around him. The pressure of an ultimate Douluo was already enough to pressure him. It seems like I'll have to walk slower from now on. Lu Yuan smiled and continued forward. When Lu Yuan reached the 900th step, Pasisi, who was sitting in the sea god's palace, suddenly opened her blue eyes. This is interesting. I want to see how many steps this kid can climb. Pasisi's lips curled into a beautiful smile, and a look of interest flashed across her eyes. Under normal circumstances, I can only climb to the 965th step if I give it my all, Pasisi muttered softly. When she said normal circumstances, she was naturally referring to the condition where she didn't use her divine power. 950th step, intermediate ultimate Douluo. When he reached the 950th step, Lu Yuan immediately felt the intensity of the pressure. This is interesting. Lu Yuan chuckled, and his five-clawed golden dragon king martial soul instantly appeared in his body. Without using the power of his martial soul, he couldn't continue forward. A loud dragon's roar rang out, and with the power of his five-clawed golden dragon king martial soul, Lu Yuan began to advance again. He's already passed the 965th step. Pasisi's eyes lit up as she watched Lu Yuan reach the 966th step. Good job, kid. Pasisi praised. Lu Yuan had already surpassed her in her normal state. Let's go out and take a look, Pasisi said as she stepped out of the sea god's palace and stood in front of the palace gate. 970th step, advanced ultimate Douluo. Lu Yuan murmured again, and released his golden dragon domain and slaying god domain at the same time. Pasisi looked down at Lu Yuan with a serious expression, and her eyes were filled with praise. 970th step. What an exceptional prodigy, Pasisi praised. What immense pressure. 980th step, pinnacle ultimate Douluo. After reaching the 980th step, even Lu Yuan's expression had turned completely serious. Golden Dragon Armor, appear. The divine-grade Golden Dragon Armor appeared on Lu Yuan's body, and Lu Yuan's entire body was covered in golden scales. The power of the Golden Dragon Armor was helping him keep the terrifying pressure at bay. Chapter 943. Lu Yuan continued to climb with his Golden Dragon Armor on. However, he was very slow. Every step he took had to withstand immense pressure. Even the pressure of a pinnacle ultimate Douluo can't do anything to my demigod physique. Lu Yuan shouted as he reached the 990th step. Whoosh! The sudden pressure caused Lu Yuan's body to sway. Icy blue and fiery red lights extended from Lu Yuan's back at the same time. The god-tier external soulbone and the water-fire dragon king wings appeared. What can the pressure of a demigod do to me? Although my fighting strength is only at the level of a demigod, the pressure I can withstand is nothing. Lu Yuan shouted in his heart. After that, he reached the 999th step under Pasisi's astonished gaze. At this step, the pressure was already at the pinnacle of the demigod rank. Lu Yuan was only 2 steps away from Poseidon's current position and he would be on the same level as her. You really surprised me. Pasisi's eyes were filled with astonishment as she looked at Lu Yuan, who was not too far away from her. Even her usual calm and graceful expression changed slightly. Lu Yuan's performance was far beyond her expectations. The 999th step was the pinnacle of the demigod rank. Even if she borrowed the power of the sea god, she couldn't reach this position. Pressure tolerance and fighting strength were 2 different things. For example, the sword Douluo was far stronger than the bone Douluo. However, he might not be stronger than the bone Douluo in terms of pressure tolerance. This was because the pressure tolerance was not only dependent on one's cultivation, but also one's physique. Pasisi didn't have a demigod body. She could borrow her godly power to fight a demigod, but she definitely couldn't withstand the pressure of a pinnacle demigod in the sea god's light. The pressure of the sea god's light was deep in one's bones. It wasn't as simple as a demigod's one-sided pressure. It was all-encompassing. One's entire body and mind would be under that pressure. There was no way to dodge it. One could only rely on one's soul power and physique to withstand it. Lu Yuan's soul power was naturally far from enough. However, his demigod body was extremely resistant to pressure. Furthermore, his physique was far stronger than a demigod's. Lu Yuan and Pasisi looked at each other on the 999th step. Pasisi was very beautiful. Even from the bottom, she was still stunningly beautiful. And now, the beauty was shocked, her eyebrows slightly furrowed, giving her a different kind of charm. How did you do it? Pasisi asked. What do you mean? Lu Yuan asked. I mean, how did you climb up the 999th step? Pasisi. Didn't you watch? You just climbed up step by step. Lu Yuan laughed softly. Pasisi was speechless. Looking at Pasisi's slightly darkened face, Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, I won't tease you anymore. The reason why I can climb so high is because I have a demigod body. I'm only one step away from a divine body. Demigod body? Pasisi murmured softly. She knew what a demigod body was, but she had never heard of a demigod body. However, seeing how Lu Yuan climbed to the 999th step so smoothly, this demigod body should be stronger than a demigod body. She could still deduce such a small thing. Amazing, Pasisi said. Even she had to admit that Lu Yuan was really amazing to be able to condense a demigod body that surpassed a demigod body at the 79th step. Thank you for the compliment. I think so too. Lu Yuan smiled brightly. Hearing this, Pasisi's mouth twitched slightly. She once again discovered a new attribute of Lu Yuan, thick skin. Do you still want to continue climbing? Pasisi asked. Of course. Lu Yuan nodded and said. The 1000th step will be very different, Pasisi said. I know. It's a demigod body, but I still want to give it a try. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed with a hint of determination. Then I'll wait and see your performance. Pasisi smiled and said softly. Then watch carefully. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. His back, right arm, left palm, and right palm lit up almost at the same time. The light gathered and a set of colorful godly equipment appeared on Lu Yuan's body. At the same time, Lu Yuan waved his right hand and the Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear appeared in his hand. Facing the 1000th step, Lu Yuan was really going all out. He's moving. Abuchi is going to climb the 1000th step. At the foot of the mountain, seeing Lu Yuan move, Ning Rongrong said with some excitement. If these guys didn't believe it, let's see how Abuchi will slap their faces later. As expected of the Hall Master, he's really amazing. Fu Qinsheng and the others couldn't help but praise. I can't help but admire him. His Highness the Holy Sun is so strong. Evil Moon smiled bitterly. Sure enough, a monster beyond imagination was not something they could predict. Rongrong was right. Zhu Zhuqing touched her face. She could already imagine Ning Rongrong snitching on her in a while. Tonight, Lu Yuan won't use this as a pretext to make a fuss, right? Zhu Zhuqing muttered softly. Her face was slightly red. She suspected that Lu Yuan would use this opportunity to do something bad because she knew Lu Yuan too well. Come on, Abuchi. Helena's eyes flickered as she said softly. Boss, you're awesome. Ma Hongjun exclaimed. Lu Yuan naturally didn't know what they were talking about below. Under the gaze of Pasisi, he, who was fully armed, stepped onto the 1000th step. Boom. A powerful pressure instantly surged, and Lu Yuan's body trembled. His legs went soft, and he knelt on the ground with a thud. The pressure seemed to be all-pervasive, and he could even hear his bones creaking under the pressure. Lu Yuan shouted loudly. He clenched his teeth, held the Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear with both hands, and pressed it against the ground. Rise. Rise. Lu Yuan's face was flushed red, his forehead was wrinkled, and the veins on his arms were bulging. However, his body slowly stood up. Pasisi had been watching Lu Yuan closely. Looking at Lu Yuan's performance, her heart couldn't help but tremble, and her eyes were filled with shock. This kind of unyielding will caused her mind to be slightly absent-minded, and she thought of a certain indomitable figure. But compared to that figure, the young man in front of her was much more outstanding. The new generation excels the old. Looks like I'm really getting old. Pasisi mocked herself, but her eyes flashed as she looked at Lu Yuan. Such a heaven's pride was truly rare in her life. Boom. An invisible aura emerged from Lu Yuan's body and collided with the huge pressure, causing a loud bang. At this time, he finally stood up and pointed the Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear to the ground. Lu Yuan's body was like a javelin as he stood upright. He was wearing a colorful divine armor. At this moment, Lu Yuan was like a god of war. Chapter 944. Time flowed like water, quietly passing by his fingertips. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Lu Yuan stood up on the 1000th step. If he had needed the help of the Dragon Emperor Drainspring Spear and his godly equipment to gain a foothold on the 1000th step 3 months ago, he no longer needed the Dragon Emperor Drainspring Spear. In fact, he didn't even need his demigod armor anymore. With his golden dragon armor and water and fire dragon king wings, he was now able to move freely on the 1000th step. The terrifying pressure further tempered his body. Lu Yuan could feel that his body, which had reached the pseudo-god level, was becoming more mature and perfect under the pressure. As for his soul power, it had already broken through to rank 80. If he was outside, he could even ask the Water Dragon King or the Fire Dragon King to sacrifice him to break through to the Soul Douluo realm. However, he couldn't do that on the Sea God's Island. The Sea God's Island was the Sea God's territory, and the Aqua Fire Dragon King's sacrifice couldn't be hidden from him. Therefore, Lu Yuan didn't mention anything about breaking through. After all, his soul power was accumulated here, and it would be reflected when he left the Sea God's Island and obtained his 8th soul ring. "You've improved a lot," Pasisi said with a smile as she looked at Lu Yuan, who was standing on the 1000th step. She had seen Lu Yuan's improvement over the past 3 months. He could easily resist the pressure of a quasi-god without his demigod equipment or his demigod equipment. It could be said that it was a huge breakthrough. She had no doubt that in the remaining 9 months, the guy in front of her would be able to step onto the 1001st step. Although compared to the 1000th step, the 1001st step was a qualitative change and reached a whole new realm, she still believed that the young man in front of her could complete it. She would chat with Lu Yuan every day over the past 3 months. Most powerful people were lonely, and Sendryu and Pasisi were the same. Ordinary people weren't qualified to talk to them at all. Only people who were of similar strength or status could become friends with them. This applied no matter which world they were in. Just like how the friends of geniuses were mostly geniuses, the friends of fools were basically not that smart. Birds of a feather flock together. This sentence was very accurate. Pasisi had always been lonely. Even the strongest of the 7 Holy Pillar Guardians, the Sea Dragon Douluo of the Sea Dragon Holy Pillar, was only at rank 95. Compared to Pasisi, the difference was like heaven and earth. However, the appearance of Lu Yuan gave Pasisi a person to talk to. After 3 months, the two were quite familiar with each other. It was like they were old friends. Great progress. I don't think it's enough, Lu Yuan said softly as he looked at Pasisi standing in front of the sea god's palace. The light of the sea god was very spiritual. Although Pasisi was in it, he did not feel the slightest bit of pressure. However, the pressure on his body was very heavy. He had to admit that the power of a god was still something. If this is not enough, how much stronger do you want to become? After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Pasisi shook her head in amusement. She waved her hand slightly, and a golden pearl of light appeared in her hand. She walked down the stairs, 1001st, 1000, and directly arrived in front of Lu Yuan. She did not feel any pressure at all. This was the special thing about being recognized by the sea god. Unless Pasisi wanted to challenge the light of the sea god himself, the light of the sea god could not pressure her at all. If you really want to become stronger, absorb it. Once you become a soul Douluo, you will naturally become stronger. Pasisi spoke gently and handed the golden pearl of light to Lu Yuan. A god-bestowed soul ring? Lu Yuan sighed softly. He was naturally not unfamiliar with this thing. It was not like he had not absorbed it before. Although it might not be very useful to me, thank you, Lu Yuan said as he received the god-bestowed soul ring from Pasisi. Although a god-bestowed soul ring could only reach 999,999 years at most, and could not break through to 1,000,000 years, it was still a god-bestowed soul ring. It would be a waste if he did not take it. You don't have to thank me. You deserve it. However, you are really stubborn. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, she knew that Lu Yuan still did not want to become a soul Douluo. However, although she did not know what Lu Yuan was thinking, she would not force Lu Yuan since he had decided. After hearing Pasisi's words, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. It was not that he did not want to break through, but he wanted a 1,000,000-year soul ring at the very least. A 999,999-year soul ring was not good enough for him. Of course, he did not say this out loud. Otherwise, no matter how good Pasisi's temper was, he would probably be scolded to death. Lu Yuan flipped his palm and kept the God-bestowed soul ring. He looked at Pasisi and his eyes flickered slightly. You want to go down and accompany your girlfriend? Lu Yuan's eyes changed, and Pasisi knew what he was thinking. After 3 months of conversation, she had a good understanding of Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan smiled and did not say anything. Sigh, it's so good to be young. So loving, Pasisi said with a hint of envy in her eyes. You don't look old. You are very young and still radiant. It's a pity that I was born late. If I was born 100 years earlier, I would definitely have made you my wife. As for Tang Chen and Sendriu, they all have to stand aside. Lu Yuan said seriously. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Pasisi could not help but burst into laughter. Her beautiful smile blossomed. You little rascal, you only know how to make me laugh. However, if I could have met someone like you back then, it would have been pretty good. Not only were you powerful, but you were also very interesting. Pasisi said coquettishly. Oh, do you mean that Tang Chen and Sendriu are both taciturn? Lu Yuan laughed. Something like that. Both of them are too serious. Pasisi shook her head and said as she recalled what happened when she was young. They just want to perform in front of their goddess. I've seen many people like that, Lu Yuan said plainly. This, perhaps. Pasisi hesitated for a while and said softly. Not perhaps, but definitely. Lu Yuan said in a deep voice. Hearing that, Pasisi smiled and shook her head again. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something. She stared at Lu Yuan and asked, Do you have any enmity with the Clear Sky sect? Yes, a life and death enmity. Back then, you ruined my plans. Why? Are you still thinking of helping the Clear Sky sect deal with me now? Lu Yuan looked at Pasisi and asked plainly. Don't misunderstand. I didn't mean that. Back then, I took action because of Tang Chen. Pasisi waved her hand and said softly. If that's the case, that's good. However, even if you want to, you won't have the chance. The Clear Sky sect has been destroyed by me. Chapter 945. I've already destroyed the Clear Sky sect. Lu Yuan's calm voice resounded. What did you say? Pasisi couldn't help but exclaim when she heard Lu Yuan's words. Her rosy lips were slightly agape, and there was a trace of shock on her face. The #1 sect in the world was destroyed just like that. I said I've already destroyed the Clear Sky sect. Lu Yuan repeated. Is it really destroyed? Poseidon asked. Of course. Lu Yuan nodded and said. Tang Xiao and the others? Of course they're dead. Is there a need to ask? The entire Clear Sky sect was destroyed. Lu Yuan said calmly. Hiss. You're so cruel. Pasisi sized up Lu Yuan as if she wanted to get to know him all over again. How could such a humorous and handsome young man be so cruel? If I wasn't cruel, would I have left them alive to go against me? Furthermore, the Clear Sky sect isn't a good sect to begin with. They bully the weak and fear the strong. They're a bunch of spineless cowards. They've long lost the strength of Tang Chen. Oh, that's right. Tang Chen is fine. We didn't even see him in the Clear Sky sect. Lu Yuan said calmly. Phew. Pasisi heaved a sigh of relief when she heard this. It was fine as long as Tang Chen was fine. As for the Clear Sky sect, what did that have to do with Pasisi? She only needed to take care of her sea god's island. She had already helped them out for Tang Chen's sake. She had already done her best. But don't worry. If I meet Tang Chen, I'll definitely kill him. Invincible Earth. What a great title. I'm not convinced. Do you think he'll die if he meets me? Lu Yuan asked with a smile when he saw Pasisi heaving a sigh of relief. You. Pasisi was furious when she heard Lu Yuan's words. She glared at Lu Yuan with her beautiful blue eyes, and her calm expression changed. Although Tang Chen was powerful, It was only limited to the extreme level. Back then, when he and Sendryu fought against her, they were easily defeated by her. In her eyes, Lu Yuan's strength was not inferior to her, who had borrowed divine power. If Tang Chen's strength did not improve greatly over the years, he would definitely die if he met Lu Yuan. TSK, why are you so anxious? Do you like Tang Chen that much? Is Tang Chen that good? Looking at Pasisi's expression, Lu Yuan's interest was piqued. He wanted to know what the real Tang Chen was like. After understanding him, he would send him to the afterlife. Yes, that's right, that's the way, Lu Yuan thought to himself. Tang Chen is naturally very good. He's the first person to become an ultimate Douluo on his own. Pasisi said softly, and there was a gentle look on her face. TSK, in the end, you still like his strength. Furthermore, he's the first person to become an ultimate Douluo on his own. That's not necessarily true. My Dragon Emperor Douluo, Long Xiaoyaro, is also indomitable. He also became an ultimate Douluo on his own. I think you like Tang Chen because there are too few outstanding men. After all, you came from the Sea God's Island, and you won't see many men in your life. Since you're single now, and my elder Long is also single, why don't the two of you become a couple? Anyway, if I meet Tang Chen, I'll definitely kill him. If you fall in love with someone else in advance, you won't have to be sad then. Furthermore, my elder Long is very infatuated. He knows how to flirt and dotes on his wife. He's much better than that blockhead Tang Chen. You're lucky to be with him. Lu Yuan said with a smile. Tang Chen was the first person to become an ultimate Douluo on his own. He might have been the first in the original novel, but he was no longer the first after Long Xiaoyaro was summoned. Long Xiaoyaro was definitely younger than Tang Chen when he became an ultimate Douluo. What? Long Xiaoyaro was Do too? So what? When he reached Do 1, he was Do 1. Was there something wrong with him? There didn't seem to be anything wrong with him. Yes, there was nothing wrong with him at all. Creak. This was the sound of her knuckles rubbing against each other as she clenched her fists. Pasisi's chest rose and fell rapidly. Her loose red robe couldn't hide her impressive figure. She stared at Lu Yuan with her beautiful blue eyes, as if she was about to spit fire. This fellow is too despicable. What is he talking about? What does he mean by falling in love with someone else in advance, and she won't be too sad after Tang Chen dies? Is that something a human would say? Furthermore, he wants to get her and Long Xiaoyaro together. It's fine if they're together, but he actually said that she was lucky. This is really intolerable. Does he really think that Pasisi doesn't have a temper? No one has dared to speak to her like this for so many years. Lu Yuan smiled faintly as he looked at Pasisi, who was about to spit fire. He felt a sense of accomplishment to be able to make Pasisi, who was usually calm and composed, become like this. You're still laughing. Pasisi shouted angrily. Haha, it's just a joke. Elder Pasisi, why are you so agitated? It's bad for your body to be angry. Lu Yuan chortled as he said. Is there anyone who jokes like you? Pasisi glared at Lu Yuan and said unhappily. Hee hee. Lu Yuan chuckled, but didn't say anything. Pasisi glared at him again. However, Pasisi's mental state was extremely high. After a while, she calmed down. Are you serious about killing Tang Chen? Pasisi glanced at Lu Yuan and asked softly. Of course. You don't think that I'm joking, do you? Or do you want to get rid of me for Tang Chen? Lu Yuan asked. I do have that thought. Pasisi nodded and said seriously. Lu Yuan was speechless. Was 3 months of friendship really not worth mentioning in the face of love between a man and a woman? I'm lying to you. Although I don't want to admit it, there's been no news of Tang Chen for so many years. I'm afraid that he's already dead. Even if you want to kill him, you won't be able to find him. Furthermore, I don't have much time left. Why do I care so much? Pasisi shook her head and said plainly. The 9th test of the sea god was the date of her death. Regardless of whether Tang Chen was dead or alive, she would never see him again. It seems that Tang Chen can't be compared to the sea god in your heart after all. Lu Yuan snorted and laughed softly. Pasisi may love Tang Chen, but her love for Tang Chen was definitely not as great as her belief in the sea god. This was very clear when she didn't leave with Tang Chen back then. For the inheritance of the sea god, even if she had lost news of Tang Chen for decades, she could still sit still. She asked herself, if it were him, let alone decades, if any of the women like Chen Renxue and Bibi Dong went missing for more than a day, he would be burning with anxiety. You can't blame others for not getting love. There's something wrong with you too. You believe in the sea god so much. If one day, the sea god asks you to seduce others or even offer your body, you'll do it too. Lu Yuan said plainly. Maybe. Pasisi hesitated for a moment and said softly. You Templar servants are really sad. You're like this, and so is Sendriu. Why do you believe in others? I only believe in myself. Hearing Pasisi's words, Lu Yuan shook his head and then walked down the mountain. Only Pasisi was left in place, staring at Lu Yuan's back in a daze. Chapter 946. At the foot of the sea god's mountain, Lu Yuan and the others were standing tall. It was already noon, and everyone was sitting in a circle, enjoying the delicacies delivered by the sea god's island's attendants. The food on the sea god's island was naturally very oceanic. All kinds of seafood were processed very well, and the taste was very delicious. Lu Yuan casually ate some and stopped after tasting it. The food on the island was very delicious, but he was a little tired of it after eating it for 3 months. Now that his body was getting stronger and stronger, and he was getting closer to the divine body, his need for food was not as big as before. If he completely broke through the divine body one day, he would be able to live on the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, just like Jiu Yuana now. She actually didn't need to eat. She only ate to satisfy her appetite. Nana, you've broken through rank 70, right? Lu Yuan picked up a tissue and wiped his mouth as he looked at Hulena. I've broken through. Senior Pasisi also gave me a god-bestowed soul ring, but I didn't absorb it. Hulena said softly. Then keep it for now. Save it for your 8th soul ring. I've already prepared your 7th soul ring for you. Lu Yuan said gently. You've prepared it? Hulena looked at Lu Yuan doubtfully. When did he prepare it? He seems to have been with me for the past few days. Did he prepare it before coming to the sea god's island? Are you very doubtful? You'll find out later. Hurry up and eat. I'll show it to you after you're done. Lu Yuan smiled. Oh. Hulena nodded and increased her speed. Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong looked at each other and saw the curiosity in each other's eyes. They also wanted to know what kind of soul ring Lu Yuan had prepared for Hulena. After eating and drinking to their fill, Evil Moon and the others entered the sea god's light again to cultivate. Lu Yuan brought Hulena to the side. Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong quietly followed behind the two of them. After finding a secluded place, Lu Yuan waved his hand and a snow-white fox appeared in front of them. It was more than 10 meters tall, and its snow-white fur was pure white without any impurities. Its eyes were a noble blue, and there were 8 snow-white foxtails swaying behind it. What soul beast is this? Hulena was stunned at first glance. She could clearly feel that this fox was very suitable for her. Furthermore, an 8-tailed fox soul beast was considered a very high-level existence, second only to a 9-tailed fox soul beast. This soul beast was a perfect match for her and was more suitable for her than a god-bestowed soul ring. This is 100,000-year 8-tailed illusion fox. Lu Yuan said in a low voice. 100,000-year soul beast. Hulena blinked her large eyes, and her expression was exceptionally cute. Abuchi actually prepared 100,000-year soul beast for her. Yes, I prepared 100,000-year radiant unicorn for share, so the one for you naturally can't be worse than hers. I hope that both of you can achieve 100,000-year 7th ring. Lu Yuan smiled and said softly. 100,000-year 7th ring? Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Hulena didn't have much of a reaction. She was just a little touched. After all, if she absorbed a god-bestowed soul ring now, it would be enough for her to reach the 100,000-year level. On the other hand, Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong were a little shaken because Lu Yuan's words didn't only refer to Chihiro Snow and Hulena, but also the two of them. They were able to tell that. As for Zhu Zhuqing, her physique was already strong, and with the tempering of the sea god's light, it wouldn't be a problem for her to reach the 100,000-year level with a god-bestowed soul ring after reaching the 7th ring. However, Ning Rongrong's problem was very big. If there were no accidents and she didn't have any fortuitous encounters, Ning Rongrong would be thankful if she could obtain a 100,000-year soul ring from her 8th ring. Her current talent was clearly lacking compared to the others by a large margin. Don't worry, I have a way to help you. Lu Yuan turned around and looked at Zhu Zhuqing and Hulena as he spoke with a smile. Yes, yes. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, the two of them couldn't help but nod at the same time. They naturally believed in Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan smiled and turned around. He pointed at the 8-tailed illusionary fox and said, "The sacrifice can begin now." As he spoke, Lu Yuan pulled Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong and started to retreat. The 8-tailed illusionary fox nodded its head, and its body started to emit a red light. The red light spread and formed a blood-red magnetic field. The sacrifice had begun. Is this the sacrifice? The two of them had never seen a sacrifice before. When they saw this scene, a look of curiosity flashed across their eyes. This is the sacrifice of a 100,000-year soul beast. It can allow the absorber to perfectly absorb the 100,000-year soul beast's energy. Even if the absorber's body can't withstand the 100,000-year soul ring, they can still fuse with it perfectly. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed. Unlike Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong, this was already Lu Yuan's 3rd time seeing a sacrifice. He was already very familiar with it. Absorbing a 100,000-year soul ring might take a long time, but the speed of the sacrifice was relatively fast. In less than 2 hours, Hulena had completely absorbed the soul ring. The 9-tailed celestial fox was attached to Hulena's body. Her 7 soul rings, yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, and red, shone brightly. Her cultivation rose to rank 74, and her spiritual power also increased tremendously. The 8-tailed illusionary fox's soul bone was a right arm bone. It also directly entered Hulena's right arm. Right now, Hulena had the illusory demonic fox skull, the 1,000-kilogram and emperor torso bone, the 100,000-year radiant unicorn left arm bone, the external fox tail soul bone, and the 100,000-year 8-tailed illusionary fox right arm bone. This meant that she was only missing the left and right leg bones. Even Lu Yuan was still short of the torso bone and the left and right leg bone to complete his soul bone. Of course, Lu Yuan still had more soul bones. After all, Lu Yuan already had 5 external soul bones, so there was no way they could compete with him. How do you feel? Lu Yuan smiled as he watched Hulena open her eyes. Of course it's very good. I feel that my strength has increased by a lot, Hulena said. That's natural. Martial soul true body is the most important skill for all soul masters. It's even more important than their 9th soul skill. Your 9-tailed celestial fox is a superb martial soul. Now that you've become a soul sage, your strength will naturally increase tremendously. Furthermore, you should have awakened your innate domain. Lu Yuan smiled as he spoke. I knew I couldn't hide anything from you. My innate domain is called the Celestial Fox Domain. The spiritual power of all soul masters in my domain will be reduced by 20%, and my own spiritual power will be increased by 20%. I can also create a celestial fox illusion. Anyone whose spiritual power is weaker than mine won't be able to escape. Hulena smiled as she spoke. She was very satisfied with her domain skill. Chapter 947. Oh, that doesn't sound too bad. This is equivalent to a 40% increase in spiritual power. Coupled with the effects of the killing god domain, your fighting strength can't be underestimated. I'm afraid you can fight a titled Douluo. Lu Yuan chuckled. With a transcendent martial soul, 100,000-year soul ring, 2 domains, and 5 soul bones, Hulena definitely had the fighting strength of a titled Douluo now. I wonder who's stronger, Elder Douluo or the current Nana? Lu Yuan stroked his chin and muttered to himself. As the standard to measure the fighting strength of a titled Douluo, Douluo was undoubtedly very representative. If Douluo had been at rank 91, he definitely wouldn't have been able to defeat Helena. However, Douluo was now at rank 94, which was 20 ranks higher than Helena. Even if Douluo's attacking strength wasn't very strong, the difference in soul power was too great. Lu Yuan didn't dare to say that Helena would definitely win. You should be very happy that you've broken through, right? Are your hands itching? Why don't we spar? Let me see your current strength. Lu Yuan regained his senses and turned to Helena. He rolled his eyes and asked with a smile. No. Helena rejected him without hesitation. What do you mean by exchanging pointers? You just want to bully me. Stinky Yuan, can you be a human? Helena glared at Lu Yuan with her big pink eyes and snapped. She was sure that Lu Yuan was up to no good again. Ah, I didn't expect you to think of me that way. I really just want to spar with you. Lu Yuan sighed and said. I don't believe you. You just want to bully me. Helena pouted coquettishly. Ah, why doesn't anyone believe the truth these days? Furthermore, if I want to bully you, do I need to spar with you? Lu Yuan sighed again. His figure flashed and appeared beside Helena. Then, he carried her on his shoulder. Ah, Abuchi, what are you trying to do? Helena exclaimed. Hey, do you even need to ask? Lu Yuan laughed mischievously. His figure flashed and disappeared in an instant. Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong were left staring at each other speechlessly. Helena might have said no, but her body was very honest. The two of them went to Mount Wu together and made love several times before they finally stopped. Abuchi. Helena lay on top of Lu Yuan and looked at him with her charming eyes. What's wrong? Do you still want more? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm not you. I'll get tired. I'm not like you. You don't even know what fatigue is. Helena said in annoyance. Then what do you want to say? Lu Yuan smiled faintly and asked. Why don't you bring Zhuqing and the others too? Wouldn't that be better? Helena asked. They need to cultivate. Cultivating for a while is good. You don't need it. You're already qualified to pass the test. Lu Yuan said softly. Indeed, 100,000-year soul ring is indeed extraordinary. My physique has strengthened a lot. I should be able to climb to the 310th step now. Helena said sweetly. Yes, otherwise I wouldn't have touched you. It's because it doesn't affect you that I did it. Lu Yuan spread out his hands and said. Hey, you must have been lonely these 3 months, right? Helena giggled. What do you think? There isn't even a building in the ring-shaped sea. I ran over 100 miles today to find a room. Don't you think it was difficult? Lu Yuan said helplessly. Poochie. Looking at Lu Yuan's helpless expression, Helena burst into laughter. Her smile was bright and charming. Lu Yuan embraced Helena's delicate body and gently smelled the fragrance of Helena's hair. He said softly, I'll accompany you for a while these few days. I'm afraid I won't have time to accompany you for a while. What's wrong? Do you have something to do now? Helena raised her head and looked at Lu Yuan in confusion. The Ice and Fire Dragon King's wings have been completely digested. I'm going to cast my divine body. Lu Yuan said softly. Cast your divine body? Helena opened her mouth slightly. Yes, casting your divine body is destined to take a long time. It will take at least 3 months, or even half a year. So you can only do it by yourself. Lu Yuan said softly. I'm not alone. There's still Zhuqing and the others. You can rest assured and cast your divine body. Don't worry too much about me. Strength is the most important. Helena said seriously. Looking at Helena's expression, Lu Yuan sighed and hugged her tightly. With a wife like this, what more can a husband ask for? My Nana is really sensible. At the foot of the Sea God's mountain, Lu Yuan sat quietly with his legs crossed. The 5-clawed golden dragon king martial soul was already in his body. 6 red and 1 gold soul rings shone with dazzling light. Lu Yuan's body shone with a golden light and emitted an extremely terrifying pressure. "It's starting," Lu Yuan muttered softly. He closed his eyes slightly and a wave of clear energy directly broke through the energy sealed in the golden dragon right arm bone. Immediately, the bright golden dragon's divine power surged out. With a thought, Lu Yuan's clear energy scripture soul power rushed out and quickly refined this energy. Then, he guided it to his limbs and bones. In an instant, Lu Yuan's body began to emit a bright golden light. A holy radiance pervaded the air and a dragon's roar sounded. A terrifying formless power formed a whirlwind that spun above Lu Yuan's head and made a woo-woo sound. What a powerful energy fluctuation! Hu Lena, Zhu Zhuqing, and the others were far away and closely watching Lu Yuan's movements. After all, Lu Yuan wanted to cast his divine body. How could they not be curious? This wasn't a demigod body or a false god body. This was a true divine body. This energy fluctuation is indeed very strong. According to the strength of this energy, it might really be able to help Sir break through his divine body. Surprisingly, the deep-sea monster Whale King was also present. Being controlled by Lu Yuan's clear energy, he couldn't attack Lu Yuan. Otherwise, the restriction in his mind would instantly take his life. It was also because of this that Lu Yuan felt at ease leaving him here. Moreover, after knowing that soul beasts couldn't become gods, the deep-sea monster Whale King didn't have any evil thoughts in his mind. Now, he wholeheartedly wanted to sacrifice himself and obtain eternal life. This had already become his new pursuit. Good boy, you're actually hiding such a powerful force in your body. On the other side of the ring-shaped sea, where Zhu Zhuqing and the others couldn't see, Pasisi's figure quietly appeared. If you succeed in casting your divine body as a soul sage, you will be the first person in all of history. Why do you need to believe in others? You only need to believe in yourself. You are worthy of this sentence. Pasisi softly muttered to himself. His beautiful blue eyes flickered slightly as he looked at Lu Yuan with admiration. Chapter 948. Dragon roars rang out as the 5-clawed golden dragon king hovered behind Lu Yuan. Its dragon wings flapped as it exuded a terrifying aura. A golden light so dense that it almost materialized radiated from Lu Yuan's body, wrapping him tightly within. This was the divine power of the second-generation golden dragon. The second-generation golden dragon was a Class 1 god, so its divine power was naturally domineering and ferocious. Although the portion of divine power in Lu Yuan's body was only 20% of the god core's divine power that had been lost, it was only slightly more than 10% of a complete god core. However, the energy it contained was definitely much stronger than an ordinary million-year soul ring. Even if a million-year soul beast became a god, it would only be a Class 3 god. There was a huge gap between it and a Class 1 god. It could be said that the deep-sea Devil Whale King's soul ring was definitely inferior to the portion of energy sealed in Lu Yuan's golden dragon right arm bone. Of course, this only referred to the energy within the soul ring. The soul ring contained the most origin energy of a soul beast, and most of a soul beast's energy was still within its body. For example, if the deep-sea Devil Whale King died, the million-year soul energy within its body couldn't be underestimated, aside from the origin energy within its soul ring. Although its quality was slightly inferior, its quantity was extremely high. Another example was the water and fire dragon kings. After they died, their divine cores were completely undamaged. Just the energy within their dragon corpses alone was enough to form the renowned Icefire Yin-Yang Well, which was a testament to how powerful they were. Another example was the Skydream Iceworm. Even if it died and its soul ring was absorbed, the energy within its corpse would still be enough for the soul beasts in the Great Stardow Forest to absorb for a long time. But even so, the most precious thing was still the source energy. Sometimes, quality was more important than quantity. The golden dragon's origin energy continuously surged out of the golden dragon right arm bone before it was frantically devoured by Lu Yuan's bones and flesh. The amount of energy required to evolve from a pseudo-god's body to a god's body was incomparably huge. At this moment, Lu Yuan was about to undergo a metamorphosis. His body seemed to have turned into a bottomless pit. No matter how thick and overbearing the divine origin power of the second-generation golden dragon was, he did not reject it and absorbed it all. All the cells in his body seemed to be screaming crazily as they greedily devoured the energy. This terrifying rate of energy absorption left Lu Yuan dumbfounded. At this rate, even if I devour all of the second-generation golden dragon's remaining energy, I'll only be able to complete my metamorphosis. Looks like I've underestimated the powerful physique of the five-clawed golden dragon king. But I can't just complete my metamorphosis. I have to forge the foundation of the most powerful divine body. As Lu Yuan thought about it, his mind moved and his spiritual force entered his sea of consciousness. On the golden beach, the dragon kings of water and fire were lying down leisurely, enjoying the refreshing white light of the divine seed with a satisfied look on their faces. Their souls had become a lot more solid, and they no longer had that illusory feeling. Instead, they were becoming more and more substantial. The remaining Titan giant apes on the beach were completely reduced to little brothers that were ordered around by the two dragon kings. "Little monkey, come and massage my legs." The fire dragon king flipped its body and stretched out its thick dragon leg. Hearing the call, the Titan giant ape ran over and hammered the fire dragon king's legs with its mill-sized fists. Lu Yuan, who had just entered, was dumbfounded by the sight. Is this still the Titan giant ape, the king of the forest? Isn't this a little too pitiful? Hey, kid, how come you have time to come here? Aren't you in the middle of metamorphosing your divine body? Looking at Lu Yuan, the water dragon king made a sound of surprise and asked with some confusion. I underestimated my physique. The remaining energy of the second-generation golden dragon might not be enough. I want you to extract some energy from the divine core of water and fire to help me break through, Lu Yuan said in a serious tone. Is that so? It's just a small matter. Leave it to us, the water dragon king said. Then I'll have to trouble the two of you. I have to go back first, Lu Yuan said as his figure disappeared from the sea of consciousness. He began to control the energy in his body again. In the sea of consciousness, the water dragon king stood up from the beach and said to the fire dragon king, "Do it, little fire. Business is more important." Okay. The fire dragon king nodded and waved his hand to get the Titan giant ape to stand aside with the water dragon king. The fire dragon king looked at the water dragon king and asked, "How much energy do we need?" 1/10 should be enough, the water dragon king said. 1/10 then. The fire dragon king nodded and pointed with his finger. A stream of reddish gold energy surged out of the divine core of the fire dragon king and entered Lu Yuan's body. The water dragon king also moved his hand and 1/10 of his energy surged out. The blue gold energy entered Lu Yuan's body. It's coming. Feeling the hot and cold energy, Lu Yuan muttered to himself. With a thought, he guided the gold dragon's divine powers forward. With the gold dragon's divine powers as the foundation, he completely merged the fire dragon king and the water dragon king's divine powers together. Then, he controlled the strange energy to flow throughout his body. Outside, the reddish gold, blue gold, and golden energies merged together to form a light shield that completely enveloped Lu Yuan. As for Lu Yuan himself, he began to transform within the light shroud. Just as Lu Yuan had said, the forging of a divine body was not done in a day and night. It took a lot of time. Unknowingly, half a year's time had quietly slipped away. Where Lu Yuan was, the three-colored light shield was still there, emitting a thick divine aura. It's been half a year. Why hasn't Ibuchi done anything? At the foot of the mountain, Hulena sat on the steps. She rested her chin on her hand and stared at the giant three-colored light shield. She hadn't seen Lu Yuan in half a year. She really missed him. Yeah, there's no movement at all. I'm so worried. Ning Rongrong's icy blue eyes were filled with worry as she spoke softly. Don't worry. It's fine. This won't be a problem for him. The divine body is extraordinary, after all. It will take a long time to transform. Zhu Zhuqing's cold voice sounded. However, even though she said that, her big eyes were filled with worry. What 3 good girls. This little bastard is so lucky. But it's been so long. It should be about time. I can feel that the movement inside the light shield has calmed down. In an inconspicuous place, Pasisi stood quietly and looked at Lu Yuan. Her beautiful blue eyes flashed. As soon as Pasisi finished speaking, the light shield that shone with reddish gold, blue gold, and golden light suddenly exploded. An extremely powerful energy suddenly spread out. Chapter 949. Boom. A loud sound rang out, and the huge tricolored light barrier that enveloped Lu Yuan instantly exploded, turning into energy light spots that filled the sky. At the same time, a bright golden pillar of light rose from Lu Yuan's body and shot into the clouds. A terrifying aura that was above all living beings emanated from Lu Yuan's body. Gulp. Ning Rongrong swallowed her saliva from a distance. The aura that came from Lu Yuan's body made her heart tremble, and she couldn't help but have the urge to crawl. Rongrong, retreat further. Zhu Zhuqing also felt very uncomfortable, even more so than Ning Rongrong. This was because she had a beast martial soul, and she was being suppressed by Lu Yuan. She pulled Ning Rongrong and retreated into the light of the sea god. With the protection of the light of the sea god, they were finally able to block Lu Yuan's aura. Helena and the others were also standing beside them, and everyone's eyes were fixed on Lu Yuan. What a terrifying aura. I even feel that this is only the first wave, and there will be even stronger auras coming from behind. Is this the divine body? Ning Rongrong couldn't help but ask as she looked at Lu Yuan. The divine body, the divine body. It's a physique that only gods can have. It's naturally very extraordinary, and it's not something that ordinary soul masters can imagine. Ibuchi has undergone a huge transformation this time. Helena exclaimed. It took him half a year just to transform. How can it be ordinary? Furthermore, Ibuchi's physique isn't as simple as an ordinary divine body. Zhu Zhuqing's big lively eyes blinked gently, and they were filled with the radiance of wisdom. Is this the divine body? It's really tyrannical. Pasisi's eyes trembled as she felt the imposing pillar of light that shot into the sky. Lu Yuan was the first person she had seen who had forged a divine body before becoming a god. Furthermore, Lu Yuan was only 17 years old, and he was already a rank 80 soul sage. This record was definitely unprecedented. The successor of the God King is truly extraordinary. Compared to you, the rest of us are truly nothing. Pasisi sighed lightly, and then his gaze turned slightly as he recalled the bold words Lu Yuan spoke that day. Indeed, how could a person with such boldness and natural talent believe in another? Because such a person could be invincible on his own. Even though he admired the sea god, Pasisi had to admit that perhaps the sea god's talent was not as good as the young man in front of him. As for Tang Chen, he was far from it. As for Sendriu, there was no need to even mention him. There was no comparison. How could a heaven's favorite like you appear in this world? This is unbelievable. Pasisi murmured as her beautiful blue eyes stared intently at Lu Yuan. At the foot of the sea god's mountain, Lu Yuan's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened, and 2 rays of golden light shot out from them. It was also at this moment that Lu Yuan's aura reached its peak. He had surpassed the limit, surpassed the demigod realm, and reached a whole new level. Sensing the power in his body, Lu Yuan frowned slightly and muttered to himself, "Is this the strength of a false god? No, perhaps it's a little stronger than ordinary false gods. It's very difficult for a false god's attack to hurt my divine body." Lu Yuan said softly, and the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. 1/10 of the Water Dragon King's origin god power, 1/10 of the Fire Dragon King's origin god power, and slightly more than 1/10 of the second-generation Golden Dragon's origin god power. Lu Yuan could have directly forged a rank 2 divine body, but in order to better stabilize his foundation, Lu Yuan forcefully suppressed it to the pinnacle of rank 3 divine body. Even so, the strength of his physique was definitely not inferior to ordinary rank 2 gods. With such a powerful physique, even if he were to stand there and allow a limit Douluo to attack him, they wouldn't be able to hurt him in the slightest. Even a demigod would be in trouble if they didn't possess a divine weapon. As for the ability to pierce through the heart with a hidden weapon, that was something that would only happen in a dream. As for false gods, if they were to unleash their full power, they would be able to inflict some minor injuries on him. After all, false gods were already very powerful. For example, Atlas Douluo Yunming was a true freak who had become a limit Douluo at the age of 35, and not even the average third-tier god would be a match for him. He hadn't used any hacks and had relied on his own hard work to create a demigod. Compared to him, Tang Chen and Sendryu were all trash. Lu Yuan's rank 3 divine body was indeed very powerful, and it was comparable to a rank 2 divine body in terms of strength, but if he were to encounter someone like Yunming, there was a very good chance that it would be destroyed. Of course, that was only if he didn't defend himself. Lu Yuan wasn't a dead man who could just stand there and let others attack him. On the contrary, Lu Yuan's offensive prowess was far superior to his defensive prowess. The god-slaying spear was unstoppable, and in his current state, Lu Yuan dared to say that even a god wouldn't be able to stop it. If he were to summon a divine adjudicator, Lu Yuan would be able to send them to the afterlife with a single spear strike. The god-slaying spear was already very powerful, and the more powerful Lu Yuan became, the more power it would be able to unleash. If Lu Yuan's current power was comparable to a god of the first tier, then even if the god-slaying spear couldn't kill a god-king with a single strike, it would still be able to severely wound him. Furthermore, that was only if the god-slaying spear didn't have a soul ring. If the god-slaying spear were to be enhanced with a soul ring, then its power would definitely be enhanced even further. It went without saying that the god-slaying spear was just that powerful. Lu Yuan clenched his fists, and the sound of bones cracking and popping rang out from all over his body. Within his body, golden blood was flowing. Originally, Lu Yuan's blood was red, but after he had completely transformed into a divine body, the blood in his body had completely turned golden. Not only his blood, but even his bones and meridians had completely turned golden. Golden was the color that belonged to the divine realm. The fact that all of his bones, blood, and meridians had been completely dyed golden was a sign that he had transformed into a divine body. My current power has already reached an unimaginable level. Lu Yuan casually waved his hand, and there was an explosion in the air. His power was so great that it was enough to shatter space. As the saying went, power could break the void. When one's power reached an extremely high level, no matter what it was, it would be completely shattered into pieces. Power could break all laws. This wasn't just a saying, but an undeniable fact. Feeling the surging power in his body, Lu Yuan's gaze focused slightly. He had just broken through, and now he wanted to test his own power. Lu Yuan's figure moved, and he directly swept towards the location of Neptune's light. Is he trying to break through? Seeing Lu Yuan rush out, Pasisi's expression changed, and his figure suddenly disappeared from the spot. Abuchi. Seeing Lu Yuan appear in front of them, Hulena, Zhu Zhuqing, Ning Rongrong, and the others all rushed over at the same time. If you have something to say it later. Watch me break through for you guys. Looking at the top of Neptune's mountain, Lu Yuan said with a chuckle. Chapter 950. Good luck. Ning Rongrong clenched her little fists as she cheered him on. Good luck, everyone cheered in unison. Don't worry, I will. Just wait and see how I conquer this sea god's light. Lu Yuan pinched Ning Rongrong's little cheek before transforming into a streak of golden light that flew directly through the sea god's light. Moments later, Lu Yuan reached the 900th step. The aura of a limit Douluo is nothing compared to this. Lu Yuan chuckled softly, and his figure flew again. Limit intermediate, high, peak. Lu Yuan did not seem to feel any pressure at all. He directly stepped into the domain of the demigod's aura, and soon reached the 999th step. Lu Yuan strode onto the 1000th step, and the terrifying aura of a demigod weighed down upon him, but Lu Yuan remained completely unaffected. Most importantly, Lu Yuan hadn't even released his martial soul. As expected of a divine body, it really is insanely powerful. Pasisi was standing less than a meter away from Lu Yuan. Pasisi was slightly shorter than Lu Yuan, and as they stood on the steps, the two of them were essentially at the same level. She was appraising Lu Yuan with an astonished look in her blue eyes. Sensing the aura was one thing, but witnessing it in person was another. His divine body was far more powerful than she had imagined, after all. In the past, Lu Yuan had only been able to move freely on the 1000th step after releasing his martial soul, golden dragon armor, and water fire dragon king soul bones. But now, Lu Yuan's physical constitution had been enhanced significantly, and he was completely unaffected by the aura of a demigod. It had to be said that this was a little terrifying. As expected, there was a massive disparity between mortals and gods. Demigods and demigods were still far inferior to true gods, and it was very difficult for them to battle beings of a higher cultivation base. After all, there had only been one Atlas Douluo in the past tens of thousands of years. Is he very powerful? I don't think so. Lu Yuan chuckled at the sight of the astonishment in Pasisi's eyes. Don't try to play dumb. I know what kind of person you are. Pasisi rolled her eyes at Lu Yuan upon hearing Lu Yuan's words. It was obvious that this brat was overjoyed, but he still acted as if he wasn't very satisfied. It seemed that he was really hateful. Pasisi was truly offended. A faint smile appeared on Lu Yuan's face upon hearing Pasisi's words. It appeared that this woman knew him quite a bit. With a thought, Lu Yuan rolled his eyes and smirked. His gaze fell on Bai Saishi's face as he sized him up. What are you looking at? Pasisi couldn't help but scold Lu Yuan in a low voice. No one had ever dared to look at her in such an impudent manner. You were quite beautiful when you rolled your eyes at me just now. A beauty with a hint of annoyance in her eyes is quite charming. Lu Yuan chuckled. Pasisi was a beauty on the same level as Bibidon, so she was naturally extremely beautiful. Lu Yuan's words weren't false, nor were they flattering. They were the truth. You're trying to make me happy again. But even if I'm beautiful, that's no reason for you to look at me so frivolously. Pasisi feigned indifference. Oh, is that so? But I'm still looking at you. What can you do to me? Lu Yuan continued to stare at her as he spoke. He, you'll know what cruelty is in the second test. Pasisi sneered. Is that so? That really scared me to death. However, I'm not belittling you, but the current you is really not enough. If the sea god doesn't strengthen you in the second test, just wait for me to beat you up. Don't think that I'll show mercy just because you're beautiful. No matter how beautiful you are, it won't change the fact that you're almost 200 years old. I like to bully old people the most. Lu Yuan chuckled. Creak. As soon as he said that, Pasisi clenched her fists tightly, gritted her teeth, and her chest heaved up and down rapidly. Her beautiful blue eyes were burning with raging flames. How could there be such a hateful brat in the world? Pasisi swore that she had never wanted to beat someone so much in her life. She really wanted to drag Lu Yuan to the side and beat him up. It would be best if she beat him half to death to vent the hatred in her heart. How dare he call her an old person? Is this brat courting death? Doesn't he know that a woman's age is a taboo topic? Pasisi thought as she glared at Lu Yuan with raging flames in her eyes. The graceful and tranquil temperament that she had cultivated for many years had long disappeared after meeting Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan's casual words were enough to provoke a change in her emotions. It had to be said that Lu Yuan was really good at provoking other people's emotions. Why are you glaring at me? Also, why are you grinding your teeth? If you want to bite me, tell me in advance that I have a divine body. Don't break your teeth. Lu Yuan said softly. Has anyone ever told you that you're really despicable? Pasisi's tone was slightly cold as the words came out from between her teeth. Lu Yuan rubbed his chin and said with a serious expression, well, that seems to be quite a lot. Pasisi. So despicable people are invincible. How could he say such words with such a serious expression? I've really never seen someone as shameless as you. Pasisi said coldly as she looked at Lu Yuan. Thank you for the compliment. I've always been proud of being shameless. Your compliment has given me the motivation to persevere. Lu Yuan said with a smile. Pasisi. Speechless. This time she was really speechless. Such a shameless person was really rare in the world. His talent was unparalleled in the world, but his shamelessness was definitely not to be outdone. A freak was a freak, not like a normal person at all. Looking at Pasisi's speechless expression, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile slightly. Needless to say, it was really quite interesting to see the calm and graceful Pasisi's speechless expression. Perhaps Sendryu and the others had never seen Pasisi like this. However, joking was just joking. In the end, business was more important. Cough cough, old beauty in front of me, can you move aside a little? Don't block my way, I'm going to continue forward. Lu Yuan coughed and said. Old beauty. Another bolt of lightning fell on Pasisi's head. A beauty is a beauty, why did you add the word old? Hihi, I won't move. Pasisi sneered as a cold light flashed in her eyes. If you don't move, then I'll change positions. A good man doesn't fight with a woman. Lu Yuan sighed and stepped to the side. The aura on his body surged and golden light filled the air. The five-clawed golden dragon king martial soul was immediately attached to his body. At the same time, the golden dragon battle armor was directly put on his body. Chapter 951. The dazzling golden dragon armor emitted a dazzling light, and the golden cape behind him fluttered in the wind. The gorgeous armor made Lu Yuan look extraordinary. With another thought, the fire and water dragon king's wings were released. The red, gold, and blue dragon wings flapped behind Lu Yuan. At the same time, the golden dragon domain and killing god domain were fully activated. Lu Yuan also held the dragon emperor draining spring spear in his hand. It could be said that apart from the demigod armor, Lu Yuan had basically gone all out. Let me give you a friendly reminder. The pressure on the 1001st floor has entered the divine level. It's a real divine level, so you'd better be careful. Otherwise, even if you have a divine body, I'm afraid you'll suffer. Just as Lu Yuan lifted his foot and was about to step in, Pasisi's cold voice rang in Lu Yuan's ears. Are you concerned about me? It seems like we're still friends, Lu Yuan said with a faint smile. You're thinking too much. I'm just afraid that you won't be able to pass the first round and lose your life. Then, the second round won't be able to proceed, and I won't be able to beat you up. Who would be friends with a shameless person like you? Pasisi said coldly. She was still angry after being teased by Lu Yuan. Pasisi had never been called that in her life. Old beauty, to think that this little rascal could say that. All right, it's fine if you don't admit it. However, I'll remember this favor. When the sea god's 9th trial comes, I'll save your life. How about it? Are you touched? Lu Yuan asked with a faint smile. You'd better solve your own problem first. You even saved my life. Pasisi said indifferently. Her expression was still cold, but her heart was warm. Regardless of whether Lu Yuan was telling the truth or not, she felt his concern. Hihi, then I'll show you how I reach the top. Lu Yuan chuckled. Then, her expression became serious, and her eyes were firm and sharp. Lu Yuan's bloodline and soul power were circulating crazily. He directly stepped onto the 1001st floor. Boom. In an instant, a terrifying explosion rang out in Lu Yuan's mind, as if a star had exploded. The terrifying pressure of a god-grade entity pressed down on Lu Yuan's body. Immediately, the sound of bones cracking could be heard from Lu Yuan's body. His entire body was suppressed by a huge force, and his body was slightly bent. You want to suppress me with just the light of the sea god? Lu Yuan roared as the power of his divine body burst forth. Streams of golden blood energy surged out from his body. Lu Yuan could even hear the sound of blood gushing out from his body like a great river. Rise! Lu Yuan roared. He pointed the Dragon Emperor draining spring spear to the ground. His body, which was originally somewhat bent, slowly straightened up. The golden light of the sea god pressed down on Lu Yuan's body. It was extremely heavy, but Lu Yuan clenched his teeth and stood straighter and straighter against the huge pressure. The light of the sea god surged crazily from the top of the mountain to the bottom. The entire light of the sea god kept undulating, as if it was slowly being pushed up by Lu Yuan alone. Lu Yuan's strength was evident from how he was able to resist all of the light of the sea god with his own strength. Clang! Like the melodious sound of a zither, Lu Yuan's body suddenly straightened up. He was like a divine spear that stood in the sky, piercing through the sky. At this moment, Lu Yuan's body exuded an indomitable and powerful aura. It made Pasisi's expression change slightly. The moment Lu Yuan stood up, the huge pressure that enveloped him completely vanished. Now that he had passed the test, the light of the sea god would no longer oppress him in the slightest. Lu Yuan was also the first person to cross all of the light of the sea god. Bang! A soft explosion sounded from the trident on Lu Yuan's forehead, as if something had broken. After that, the golden trident seemed to become even brighter. You have completed the first test of the sea god's 3 tests. You are rewarded with a comprehension of the sea god's 13 halberds, and the age of all your soul rings increased by 5,000 years. A loud voice sounded in Lu Yuan's mind. Then, a golden flowing light flew out of the sea god's palace and entered Lu Yuan's mind. Comprehension of the sea god's 13 halberds. Lu Yuan's expression changed slightly as he felt the sudden comprehension in his mind. A complicated look flashed across his eyes. The sea god's gift was too great. The sea god's 13 halberds was the sea god's exclusive ultimate skill. Although this was just a comprehension, it was enough for Lu Yuan to comprehend the entire sea god's 13 halberds. Lu Yuan automatically ignored the 5,000-year increase in his soul ring's lifespan. In the past, a 5,000-year increase in his soul ring's lifespan might have made him happy for a while. However, a 5,000-year increase in his soul ring's lifespan was nothing to him now. Lu Yuan closed his eyes and felt the comprehension of the sea god's 13 halberds in his mind. There was clearly a time limit for this comprehension. Once time passed, it would disappear. Hence, he couldn't let such a good opportunity go to waste. Halberd shadows flashed in Lu Yuan's mind. The blue sea was connected to the sky, and the waves were turbulent. As time passed, a special concept rose from Lu Yuan's body. It was as vast and boundless as the sea, encompassing all things. The waves were monstrous, and the concept was endless. It was the concept of the vast sea. The aura of the sea. Is this a gift from the sea god? Furthermore, this kid actually comprehended the sea god's 13 halberd. Pasisi's beautiful blue eyes flickered. To be honest, the fact that the sea god passed the sea god's 13 halberds to Lu Yuan greatly exceeded her expectations. This was the sea god's most famous consummate skill, and it was actually passed down to someone who wasn't the sea god's successor. Even she couldn't help but sigh. The sea god really valued Lu Yuan too much. Furthermore, what surprised her the most was that Lu Yuan actually comprehended the sea god's 13 halberds in such a short period of time. This kid's talent is really worthy of praise. However, it would be great if he could be a little more serious. Pasisi looked at Lu Yuan and said softly. Conversing with Lu Yuan was actually very easy. The only bad thing was that this kid always liked to joke around. Sometimes, when he teased her with a few sentences, it could simply infuriate her to death. She had always thought that her self-control skills were quite good. However, when she met Lu Yuan, no matter how good her self-control skills were, they all turned into nothingness. Am I that indecent? Lu Yuan gently opened his eyes as a faint chuckle was heard. He had basically completely digested the comprehension of the sea god's 13 halberds. He had also comprehended the entire set of the sea god's 13 halberds. Of course, he had only comprehended it. Using it wasn't a problem. However, if he wanted to display its power, Lu Yuan would need to practice more. After all, the sea god's 13 halberds was a relatively high-level halberd technique. Chapter 952. Don't you know if you're serious or not? Pasisi rolled her eyes at Lu Yuan and said faintly after listening to Lu Yuan's words. I don't know. I think I'm very serious. Lu Yuan shook his head and said in a serious tone. Bah, shameless little sly guy. If you're serious, then there's no one in the world who's not serious. Pasisi scolded in a low voice. Oh, I don't agree with what you said. How am I not serious? I didn't flirt with you, and I didn't take advantage of you. How am I not serious? Didn't I just call you an old beauty? You're almost 200 years old. Aren't you old? You're so beautiful. You're a typical beauty. Put together, you're an old beauty. That's right. Lu Yuan shrugged and said with an innocent look on his face. You. When Lu Yuan said that and saw Lu Yuan's innocent expression, Pasisi suddenly became angry. She glared at Lu Yuan with anger in her eyes. Not bad. You're still pretty when you're angry. Fair skin, beautiful face, bright eyes, and white teeth. Pasisi, the daughter of the sea, you really live up to your reputation. It's a pity that you're a little old. Lu Yuan acted as if he did not notice Bai Saishi's angry gaze. He continued to comment on his own, and at the end, he said that it was a pity that Bai Saishi was too old. This completely provoked Pasisi's anger. Although Pasisi often said that she was a little old, she couldn't accept it if someone else said it. Bibidon always said that she was old, but if Lu Yuan also said that she was old, she would fight Lu Yuan to the death. I think you're looking for a beating. Pasisi frowned and clenched her teeth. She raised her hand and slapped Lu Yuan. With a casual slap of her hand, the air exploded, and a terrifying invisible force instantly attacked Lu Yuan. However, Lu Yuan acted as if he didn't see it and allowed the palm energy to land on his body. He didn't even blink as his body moved and grabbed Pasisi's jade hand. Why didn't you dodge? Pasisi's anger subsided. Just now, he had used a lot of strength in his attack. Could it be that this brat was seriously injured? There's no need to dodge. Your attack can't hurt me. You're too weak. Lu Yuan sized up Pasisi and said indifferently. Bastard. After being belittled by Lu Yuan, Pasisi's anger rose once again. She forcefully withdrew her hand. She was going to teach this guy a lesson. He actually dared to say that her attack was too weak and couldn't hurt him. However, something awkward happened. Pasisi forcefully withdrew her hand, but it didn't budge. You can use more strength, Lu Yuan said softly. His right hand was still holding Pasisi's jade hand. Let go, Pasisi said coldly. If you don't do it, then I'll let go, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Hearing this, Pasisi was silent for a while and said, let go. I won't do it. Pasisi's expression was very serious and didn't look like he was lying. Lu Yuan could see this, so he believed him. Lu Yuan loosened his right hand. Pasisi withdrew her jade hand, then took advantage of Lu Yuan's inattention and directly stepped on Lu Yuan's foot. Didn't you say you won't do it? Lu Yuan said helplessly as he felt the huge pressure on his foot. I didn't do it. I did it with my foot. Pasisi glared at Lu Yuan. She raised her snow-white neck, held the golden scepter in her hand, and arrogantly walked into the sea god palace. Is this still the Pasisi I know? Lu Yuan thought to himself. Is this still the graceful and tranquil Pasisi? Why does it feel like she's a proud little woman? Could it be that I've angered her to death? Lu Yuan muttered. Could it be that Pasisi was so angry that she became a little abnormal? That was possible. After all, Pasisi had never been angered like this before. Shaking his head, Lu Yuan walked towards the foot of the mountain. After passing the test, the sea god's light didn't have the slightest pressure on him, so he easily walked down. At the foot of the sea god's mountain, a cauldron was erected. There were flames burning in the cauldron, and Lu Yuan was refining pills. It had been a month since the first test. In this month, Lu Yuan had refined many top-grade meridian opening and bone-tempering pills to help Hulena and the others improve their physiques and refine their meridians. Of course, he had also refined some great rising spiritual pills to increase soul power. Coincidentally, the sea god's light could suppress and refine soul power, and it was absolutely complementary to the great rising spiritual pills. In a month's time, everyone's soul power had increased by 3 ranks, and there weren't any hidden dangers. The terror of an alchemist could be said to be outstanding. After a few transformations, Lu Yuan's spiritual realm had reached the demigod realm, and his pill refining skills had reached an extremely high level. The top-grade pills he refined now could even increase the strength of a titled Douluo. It could be said to be quite terrifying. A high-grade alchemist could support a huge organization, and this wasn't a lie. With Lu Yuan's current pill refining skills, he could raise the strength of the Dragon King Palace and the Martial Soul Palace to another level. The pills that Lu Yuan was preparing to refine today were all the highlights. Apart from the Origin Chaotic pill that had already been refined, the pill in the cauldron was also one of them, and it was called the Form Transformation pill. The Form Transformation pill was undoubtedly a high-grade pill, and it wasn't very difficult to refine. However, the ingredients for it were hard to find. Lu Yuan still asked the Pasisi to search the entire Sea God's Island, and he barely managed to gather 4 sets of ingredients. Because of this, the Pasisi even made things difficult for him. After being angered by Lu Yuan twice, this woman had been holding back her anger. This time, Lu Yuan had fallen into her hands, and was mocked by her. When facing Lu Yuan, all of her gracefulness and magnanimity had disappeared. Xiao Lan, I've suffered a lot because of you. Lu Yuan sighed softly. His hand seals changed, and the flames in the cauldron also changed. Dang! An invisible wave came out of the cauldron, and hit the walls of the cauldron. A tempting pill fragrance came out of the cauldron. It's done. Lu Yuan's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. He waved his hand, and the lid of the cauldron flew to the side. 4 brilliant and colorful pills rushed out of the cauldron, and the pill fragrance became even stronger. Lu Yuan stretched out his hand, and the 4 pills immediately fell into his hand. Looking at the 4 round and smooth pills in his hand, Lu Yuan could not help but reveal a smile at the corner of his mouth. 4 sets of ingredients, 4 form transformation pills. The current Lu Yuan could refine 4 sets of ingredients at the same time, and all of them were successfully refined. This pill refining level was really high. Chapter 953. Abuchi, has the pill been successfully refined? Ning Rongrong and the others all gathered around Lu Yuan upon seeing what he was doing. They had all eaten the elixirs that Lu Yuan usually refined. The efficacy of the elixirs was astonishing, and the elixirs that Lu Yuan refined today were obviously even more extraordinary. How could they not be interested? They all wanted to see just how miraculous the pills that Lu Yuan had refined were. I've completed the refinement. Lu Yuan smiled at the sight of Ning Rongrong, and a warm look flashed through his eyes. He waved his hand, and a pill that was shimmering with 9 different colors instantly appeared in Lu Yuan's hand. He gently raised his hand and stuffed the pill into Ning Rongrong's little red mouth. What did you give me, Abuchi? Ning Rongrong didn't struggle at all as Lu Yuan fed her the pill. She blinked her large eyes and looked at Lu Yuan with a curious look on her face. This is a top-tier pill, the Chaotic Origin pill. It can open up all of the meridians in your body and refine your body to forge a Chaotic Origin immaculate body. Not only will it greatly enhance your soul power, but it will also increase your cultivation speed. The Chaotic Origin energy imbued within the pill can also be incorporated into your soul power to improve the quality of your soul power. The effects of this pill are far more powerful than the beautiful silk tulip. Even the yearning heartbroken red is far inferior to this pill. With this pill, your 7th soul ring will be able to absorb a 100,000-year soul ring without any issues. It can be said that this is a miraculous pill. It's just that the medicinal ingredients are too hard to find. I've only managed to refine this one. After you consume it and forge a mixed Yuan immaculate body, your cultivation speed will increase by at least 2-fold. It can be considered as making up for the gap between you and Zhuqing and the others. How is it? Are you satisfied? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. I'm satisfied, I'm very satisfied. Abuchi, you're so good to me. Ning Rongrong couldn't control herself, and she threw herself into Lu Yuan's arms before planting a kiss on Lu Yuan's cheek. Alright, the medicinal power of this Prime Val Chaos pill is very mild. Go and take a nap. When you wake up, The medicinal power will naturally be fully absorbed. Lu Yuan gently stroked Ning Rongrong's soft long hair and said softly, "All right." Lu Yuan kissed Lu Yuan on the lips again, completely ignoring everyone's gazes. After that, she skipped into her tent at the foot of the Sea God Mountain and slept comfortably. Lu Yuan smiled warmly at Ning Rongrong's actions. This primordial chaos pill had cost him 3 precious immortal herbs, as well as other rare ingredients. In terms of value, it was comparable to a treasure like the life crystal, perhaps even a little more. If Ning Rongrong absorbed it, her soul force would rise from rank 59 to rank 65 at the very least. Furthermore, her foundation would become even more solid, and her foundation would become even more profound. In terms of talent, he was on par with Zhu Zhuqing. He definitely had the potential to become a Tier 1 god. Since he said he wouldn't mistreat Ning Rongrong, then he would naturally do it. Seeing Lu Yuan feed Ning Rongrong such a precious divine pill, the surrounding people became even more curious. The primordial chaos pill was already a rare treasure, so how miraculous would the remaining 4 pills be? The primordial chaos pill is indeed extraordinary. This little rascal's alchemy skills are actually so high. This is truly beyond my expectations. However, I want to see just how miraculous the next pill is. In a remote area, Pasisi stared in Lu Yuan's direction, her blue eyes shining with a strange light. She was becoming more and more interested in Lu Yuan. This little rascal's methods were simply endless. Not only was his strength and talent terrifying, but he also knew how to refine pills. This was truly unexpected. Under everyone's curious gazes, Lu Yuan walked to the circular sea and snapped his fingers. With a snap of his fingers, 3 black shadows swam toward Lu Yuan from the ring-shaped sea. On the left was the deep-sea demon whale, Xiaolan, and on the right were 2 great white demon soul sharks. One was over 80 meters long, and the other was less than 30 meters long. One of them was Xiao Bai and her child. Lu Yuan gave her a name, Xiao Bai, although Xiao Bai had never agreed to this name. Seeing Lu Yuan on the shore, Xiao Lan immediately swam over. His head swayed gently, and he let out a happy whine. "Little guy, I'll give you something good to eat." Lu Yuan smiled gently and patted Xiao Lan's head with his right hand. "Ang." Hearing Lu Yuan's voice, Xiao Lan immediately let out a cry. His big eyes blinked slightly, revealing a hint of confusion. It was as if he was asking Lu Yuan what he was going to give him. Lu Yuan chuckled. With a wave of his right hand, a radiant elixir appeared between his fingers. When this pill appeared, Xiao Lan, Xiao Bai, and Xiao Bai trembled at the same time. They felt an instinct from the depths of their bloodline. "What is this? I really want to eat it," Xiao Bai said softly. There was a strong desire in his big blue eyes. Form transformation pill, a pill that can allow a soul beast to take human form and have the cultivation speed of a human. Lu Yuan said with a smile. Hiss. When this was said, everyone was shocked. They all knew that Lu Yuan was refining an extraordinary pill, but they didn't expect this pill to be extraordinary to such an extent. Form transformation pill? Pasisi's expression also froze, and a hint of shock flashed across her eyes. Although it was surprising that it could allow a soul beast to take human form, she could still accept it. However, it could also allow a soul beast to have the cultivation speed of a human. This form transformation pill was a little heaven-defying. The lifespan of a soul beast was already far longer than that of a human. If it could also have the cultivation speed of a human, it would be terrifying. If this pill flowed into the hands of a soul beast, it would be enough to overturn the entire world. The strength of a soul beast would completely surpass that of a human in a very short period of time. It had to be said that Pasisi was Pasisi. Her vision was far more farsighted than the average person. Looks like I'll have to warn this little rascal later. Pasisi thought to herself. Lu Yuan had always known about Pasisi's arrival, but he was too lazy to care. Xiao Lan, catch. He pinched the pill and lightly tossed it. Immediately, the brilliant pill flew towards Xiao Lan. Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with a hint of desire as it looked at the pill. However, it tried its best to suppress this desire. Xiao Lan swallowed the form transformation pill in one gulp. Immediately, Xiao Lan's body bloomed with a dazzling light that completely enveloped Xiao Lan's body. All boys, turn around. Lu Yuan suddenly thought of something and shouted at the crowd. Then, he turned around. Not all soul beasts wore clothes like Jiu Yuana. If Xiao Lan were to transform, it would most likely be completely naked. Evil Moon and the others didn't know what Lu Yuan meant, but since Lu Yuan had already turned around, they could only follow suit. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.